the genius scientist of the Dragon King legend. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 201 Reversal. Cosmic Demon, open your eyes. In the darkness, Alba's consciousness slowly revived. Who are you? Alba asked subconsciously. I'm Xiaofeng. Alba opened his blurry eyes, and he felt that his brain was in a mess, and he couldn't think clearly. As for now, you are dead. The sudden shock made Alba's mind clear up a lot. No, I'm still young, I can't sacrifice. Alba shouted in horror. Don't worry, I brought you 2 lives. The strange voice continued. The first life is Tang Wulin, and the second life is Gu Yuna. Alba finally woke up completely and saw that the 2 people standing in front of him were 2 humans wearing strange armor. It's you. You despicable humans ambushed my great king Alba. Tang Wulin slowly squatted down, looking at the weak Alba and said, although we did launch a surprise attack, someone seemed to faint after a face-to-face encounter, right? As soon as the voice fell, the pressure that was enough to rival the 3rd level god was released from Tang Wulin. Gu Yuna on the side also released her own pressure. Although Gu Yuna and Tang Wulin were both 3rd level gods at this time, her pressure was several times stronger than Tang Wulin's. Feeling the pressure released by the 2 people in front of him, Alba trembled and said, how did you know our whereabouts? A voice came from nowhere. I can tell you that the plan to destroy the demons was made by Zofi. Gu Yuna sighed. Okay, stop being weird and get down to business. As she said that, Gu Yuna looked up and looked into the distance. Did you come from this door? Let me borrow it. Gu Yuna waved her arms, and the purple door was instantly covered with silver. This is not over yet. The half-open door began to slowly close. Not only that, the demon gate began to slowly open in another direction. From this moment on, the demon gate began to connect in reverse. The demon gate opened in reverse. How? How is it possible? Alba stared at everything in the distance in amazement. Although the location of the demon gate was a little far from where Gu Yuna and the others were, those present were not ordinary people. Even Alba, who had the weakest cultivation, could easily see everything that happened in the distance. Gu Yuna turned her head and looked at Tang Wulin. It's up to you this time. I need to maintain the demon channel and can't spare too much energy to attack the demon plane. Tang Wulin stretched his muscles slightly. Don't worry, I will solve it quickly. A group of creatures with only devouring in their minds will have no scruples when fighting. The demon plane is different from Daoluo Star. The Daoluo plane has a complete ecology and so on. In the demon plane, only the kings of the demon plane can really be called life. As for other demon creatures, they can only be barely regarded as semi-energy life forms. They have no self-awareness and will only kill according to instinct. But because they have no self-awareness, they will unconditionally obey the orders of the king. This is their instinct from the depths of their blood. Tang Wulin first killed Alba with a shot, then bent his knee slightly, and then suddenly exerted force. Under the powerful reaction force, Tang Wulin rushed into the demon gate like an arrow from a bow. Watching Tang Wulin's departure, Gu Yuna immediately began to do her best to keep the demon gate open. At Gu Yuna's waist, the genius energy bottle floated up. The move just now failed to be released successfully. Is there something wrong with our thinking? Jiang Xiaofeng's voice came from the genius energy bottle. Gu Yuna shook her head. No, the new move we conceived is perfect, but I'm not strong enough now to fully unfold it. Obviously, the strange words that Alba heard just now came from Jiang Xiaofeng. Alas, who would have thought that the words of Rushi back then were not a translation error at all, but a real prophecy. Jiang Xiaofeng said with emotion. Ah. Gu Yuna was a little confused. It's okay, don't worry about it. Jiang Xiaofeng waved his hand nonchalantly, and then found that he had no hands at all. At this moment, Tang Wulin was like a washang, sweeping the demons frantically in the demon plane. Although Tang Wulin does not have the ability to absorb the core of the plane, the Daoluo plane can. Just like catching elves in a game, if you want to maximize the probability of successful capture, you need to beat the wild elves to the last drop of blood. Then throw the elf ball. You can successfully capture the elf with the highest probability. The roll of the Daoluo plane is equivalent to throwing the elf ball so as to completely capture the demon plane. And what Tang Wulin has to do now is to beat the demon plane to the last drop of blood. The demon creatures pounced on Tang Wulin tirelessly, and Tang Wulin became more and more courageous, without any sign of fatigue. This is not only because Tang Wulin is very powerful now, but also because the Golden Dragon Spear has played an important role. As Tang Wulin fights, the Golden Dragon Spear is also constantly absorbing the energy of the demon creatures. 90% of it was passed to the Daoluo plane by Tang Wulin to further consolidate the plane, and the remaining 10% is used to replenish its own consumption. Here it comes. Jiang Xiaofeng reminded softly. Without Jiang Xiaofeng's reminder, Gu Yuna also felt the changes in the demon gate. A large amount of pure energy is constantly pouring out of it. Although the quality of this energy is not high, it wins in quantity. The life-seeding Gu Yuna's sea of consciousness takes all of this energy without leaving any behind. At the same time, it also does not forget to give back some energy to Gu Yuna, so that she can maintain the demon gate more easily. Looking at this scene in front of him, Jiang Xiaofeng breathed a sigh of relief. It seems that Tang Wulin is doing well. But think about it, the highest combat power in the demon plane is only at the priest level. If we let our combat power go, it will really be a mess. Gu Yuna smiled playfully and teased, Tang Wulin and I have no problem killing each other, but you forget it, you can only quack now. Jiang Xiaofeng looked at his current body. I have to admit that Gu Yuna is right, and he can only quack now. As for killing indiscriminately, let's talk about it when I'm fully resurrected. Yuanenyahu on the side slowly woke up. Before, Gu Yuna left a seed in Yuanenyahu's sea of consciousness to protect Yuanenyahu's own consciousness. Without the protection of this seed, Yuanenyahu's consciousness would most likely be wiped out. As for now, Yuanenyahui basically got a royal demon bloodline for free. Although it can't be compared with the level of the Golden Dragon King and the Silver Dragon King, it is also a top level bloodline. P.S. It's almost vacation. Those who understand will understand. Chapter 202 Devouring and Reconstructing. Is the plan successful? Yuanenyahui looked around and asked in confusion. Gu Yuna nodded. Although it has not been completely successful, the most difficult steps have been completed. With the feedback from the Seed of Life, it became less difficult for Gu Yuna to maintain the demon gate. In addition, with Gu Yuna's strong mental power, she could still chat with others even when performing such delicate operations. Without Gu Yuna saying too much, Yuanenyahui already understood what she meant. Although the plan to absorb the demon plane has not been completely successful, it has been almost certain at this point. It's like you have passed 60 out of 100 questions in an exam, and you have already answered 60 questions correctly. Even if you mess up the remaining 40 questions, you don't need to worry about failing the exam. Unless something big goes wrong suddenly, there is no possibility of a comeback for the demon plane. What's more, even if there is a comeback, it won't be the turn of the demon plane. You are not the protagonist, and you are not a big boss, so how can you come back? The big boss was killed. Why can you do it? After thinking it through, Yuanenyahui stopped asking questions and looked at his hands and carefully felt his physical condition. I became stronger? Is it because I was promoted to title Daoluo? Yuanenyahui was a little confused. No, it's not just because I broke through to title Daoluo. It seems my martial soul has also become stronger. Of course. You got the royal demon bloodline for free. The genius energy bottle floated out from behind Gu Yuna, and Jiang Xiaofeng's teasing voice came from it. How does it feel to get it for free? Yuanenyahui thought for a while. Not bad. However, although the energy of the demon plane is less, but before he finished speaking, a strange wave suddenly surged out of the demon gate, instantly interrupting Gu Yuna's connection with the demon gate. At this moment, all the top masters in the Daoluo plane felt a strange shock. For those above the extreme Daoluo realm, this shock is as violent as a supervolcanic eruption and a tsunami. But for those with a weaker realm or even those who are not spirit masters at all, this shock is like a small stone gently falling into a pond, which only briefly creates a ripple. Gu Yuna's face suddenly changed, but before she could take any action, Tang Wulin jumped out of the demon gate and said casually, "It's easy." At this moment, all the demon gates began to gradually collapse, shatter, and turn into dust. These dusts did not disperse with the wind, but began to gather again under a strange force, forming a golden light gate facing the sky. The Daoluo plane has taken over the demon gate, so that's it. It seems to be a false alarm. Gu Yuna murmured to herself. The demon gate was completely controlled by the Daoluo plane, and the demon plane lost all its resistance. The demon gate, which originally symbolized the devil, would naturally become a unique appearance of the Daoluo plane. Although the light gate is not very recognizable, in her perception, a large amount of plane power began to rush into the light gate frantically, and a shock hundreds of times more violent than before came. Gu Yuna's face condensed, and then she stretched out her hand to Yuanenyehu in the air. A burst of silver light instantly enveloped Yuanenyehu, and transferred her to Shrek Academy far away from the demon gate. The plane fluctuations here were too violent, and Yuanenyehu's current cultivation level could not bear it at all. Then, a beam of light appeared from the light gate and shot straight into the sky. When the beam of light rose to a height of 10,000 meters, it seemed to hit an invisible barrier, and the light began to spread to the entire Daoluo plane. Looking at the beam of light that shot into the sky, Tang Wulin murmured, "Just absorbing a demon plane, how could it cause such a big commotion?" Gu Yuna shook her head. "A lean camel is bigger than a horse. Although the demons in the demon plane are not strong, it is still a plane. The weakness of the demon plane is evaluated at the plane level. The strongest combat power that a plane can carry is not equal to the energy intensity of the plane itself. Although the two are related to a certain extent, they are not absolute. Under the same energy intensity, the larger the plane is, the weaker its carrying capacity is. The principle is somewhat similar to density. But no matter what, the total energy intensity of a plane must be much greater than the strongest person it can carry. It's like the ice on the lake. Even if the total mass of the ice is much greater than the person standing on it, it may break, because it can't bear the weight of the pedestrian. In short, everything went well this time." Jiang Xiaofeng's voice came from the genius energy bottle. "Wait until the Daoluo plane completely absorbs the demon plane, and we can start preparing for the next stage of action." As time passed, the light column gradually began to become brighter. This shows that the Daoluo plane has begun to absorb the most core power of the demon plane, and those absorbed before can only be regarded as appetizers. At this moment, Tang Wulin and Gu Yuna's faces changed suddenly, because a second light column suddenly appeared in the light gate. This light column is much smaller than the previous one. If it were just like this, it wouldn't cause their faces to change so much. The key is that this light column is not shining towards the sky, but shining towards them. No. To be more precise, it was shining towards the genius energy bottle. Before everyone could react, the second beam of light connected to the genius energy bottle, which was like a mirror. This is. After roughly feeling his own situation, Jiang Xiaofeng hurriedly shouted to Gu Yuna and Tang Wulin, who had already rushed over, "Don't be impulsive, I'm fine." Hearing this, Tang Wulin and Gu Yuna stopped their actions. "No, this is not an attack." Gu Yuna, who had calmed down a little, frowned and carefully observed the beam of light connected to the genius energy bottle. Tang Wulin pondered. Senior Golden Dragon King said that this is more like energy transmission. It divides a part of the energy absorbed from the core part of the demon plane and transmits it to Xiaofeng and the genius energy bottle. Without Tang Wulin's reminder, Gu Yuna, who was too concerned and didn't observe carefully just now, also discovered this. Or, if it wasn't for the concern, Gu Yuna should have discovered this earlier than Tang Wulin and the remnant soul of the Golden Dragon King. After all, the Golden Dragon King is mainly good at strength and destruction, and the Silver Dragon King is good at various functional abilities. If Xiaofeng wants to reconstruct her own data, what she needs most is the power of the plane core. Although the demon plane is weak, it is still a plane after all. Thinking of this, Gu Yuna's eyes became brighter. Could it be? If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 203 Resurrection Progress 90%. With the continuous injection of energy, Jiang Xiaofeng felt that his active data was recovering rapidly. These energies should be enough to completely restore your data. In the Daoluo library, Jiang Xiaofeng felt the information transmitted by the Lord of the Plains, and responded with a smile. Indeed, it is more than enough to reconstruct personal data with the power of a plane. Although the data reconstruction is completed, it does not mean that I'm completely resurrected. But it is almost the same. After saying this, Jiang Xiaofeng felt the doubts of the Lord of the Plains. Don't worry, once the data reconstruction is completed, it can be said that I have basically resurrected 90%. And the remaining 10%, I need to build my body myself. Just like programming, various files and other things are prepared for you, and then it depends on you to write a small program to call all these files. Jiang Xiaofeng couldn't help but smile proudly. This is a project that requires a high IQ to complete, but unfortunately, I just happen to have it. The meaningless whisper came to his ears again, but Jiang Xiaofeng could easily understand the meaning of this whisper. Is there anything else I can help with? Jiang Xiaofeng shook his head. I can only build my body by myself. No one else can help. But for me, this is really not a difficult task, it's just a bit time consuming. By the way, after absorbing the demon plane, can you not raise the cultivation limit of Daoluo continent? Theoretically, Daoluo continent, which has absorbed the demon plane, is enough to release the cultivation limit of level 100. But there is one thing, the golden ancient tree is connected to the Daoluo plane. If it is just a simple reinforcement of the Daoluo plane, it will not cause any changes to the golden ancient tree. But if the cultivation limit of Daoluo continent is released now, the defense of the golden ancient tree will also be greatly improved. At that time, the abyss plane may not be able to blast through the golden ancient tree, because the feasibility of this plan is based on the abyss plane Daoluo plane. Yes. This is the response of the Lord of the Plane. Jiang Xiaofeng smiled. Then, see you next time. The whispered voice this time was a farewell. Consciousness returned, and Jiang Xiaofeng's consciousness returned to the genius energy bottle again. The beam of light connected to the genius energy bottle was disconnected at some point. Obviously, the energy transmission has been completed. Xiaofeng, how do you feel now? Gu Yuna's expectant voice came to his ears. In theory, there is an entire plane to provide energy for Jiang Xiaofeng, which should be enough. This time it was Tang Wulin's voice. After a brief feeling of his own state, Jiang Xiaofeng was sure that his active data had been restored. The next moment, a green data stream floated out of the genius energy bottle. In the astonished eyes of Tang Wulin and Gu Yuna, this data stream first gradually formed a human outline, and the outline gradually began to have volume, and then the facial features of the human body gradually took shape. Finally, these data streams formed Jiang Xiaofeng's appearance. Jiang Xiaofeng stretched out his hand, and clenched his fist, smiling. I feel good now. Carakalida. Strange, the energy should be enough. Tang Wulin looked at Jiang Xiaofeng's body, that was like a TV with a frame drop, and frowned. Why is your body still in an unstable state? At this time, Jiang Xiaofeng seemed to have recovered his human form, but any normal person could find the problem. He now looked more like a projection with a frame drop. With Jiang Xiaofeng's current state, it was hard not to worry. And Gu Yuna could see at a glance that Jiang Xiaofeng's body was just a visual effect formed by distorted light, and it was still just data in essence. Jiang Xiaofeng explained helplessly, don't worry, I just haven't had time to construct a body to hold the data. This is a slow process, so don't rush it. And it's really not a difficult task for me. It's similar to the soul being repaired, but the body not being repaired yet? Gu Yuna thought, is that probably what you mean? Although the details are not very accurate, it's roughly right. After explaining, Jiang Xiaofeng began to feel his body carefully. And I feel like I can do something else now. As he said that, Jiang Xiaofeng looked at Tang Wulin, and couldn't help but smile. Looking at Jiang Xiaofeng's smile, Tang Wulin had a bad premonition. Jiang Xiaofeng suddenly turned into a data stream and instantly poured into Tang Wulin's body. The next moment, Tang Wulin's arms fell down weakly, as if he was in a trance. Gu Yuna looked at this scene and couldn't help but twitch the corners of her mouth. She always felt that this scene seemed to have been seen somewhere before. The next moment, Tang Wulin raised his head again. He moved his body slightly, then raised his thumb and pointed at himself. Oh, third uncle. Gu Yuna held her forehead. She already knew why this scene looked familiar. Being possessed by Jiang Xiaofeng, no one is more familiar with this than Gu Yuna. Because of the research needs before, some things were difficult to complete by Gu Yuna alone. And Gu Yuna had killed many Abyss Layer lords to replenish Jiang Xiaofeng's energy, which allowed Jiang Xiaofeng to be attached to Gu Yuna for a long time. In order to proceed smoothly with the experiment, Jiang Xiaofeng attached himself to Gu Yuna and controlled himself to complete various operations. And the facts proved that this was indeed very convenient. And now, with the completion of Jiang Xiaofeng's data recovery, he seems to have the ability to possess at will, although he can be driven out. As for Tang Wulin, what's wrong with you? Tang Wulin's voice came from the mind of Tang Wulin. How did you get in? This time it was a muffled voice. In Tang Wulin's sea of consciousness, Tang Wulin's consciousness and the Golden Dragon King's consciousness were staring at each other. I don't know. I just came in suddenly. Tang Wulin said in confusion. The Golden Dragon King tilted his head. Then can you still get out? Don't tell me you can't get out of your own body. That's not the case. Although I haven't tried, I feel that, as long as I try hard, I should be able to get out. After Jiang Xiaofeng took control of his body, Tang Wulin's consciousness, which had nowhere to go, could only run to the Sea of Consciousness to keep the Golden Dragon King company. What they meant by going out was that Tang Wulin's consciousness left the Sea of Consciousness and regained control of his body. Although Tang Wulin didn't try, this was his body after all, and Jiang Xiaofeng was only an outsider. What's more, Tang Wulin himself had a strong cultivation. Jiang Xiaofeng was able to gain control of Tang Wulin's body now, more by surprise, and because he and Tang Wulin were friends, there was not so much suspicion and other emotions. In summary, Tang Wulin would naturally not fight hard to regain control of his body. But not being able to snatch it doesn't mean that it can't be snatched. As the true owner of the body, Tang Wulin doesn't need to try. It's enough to confirm this. Looking at Jiang Xiaofeng who was controlling Tang Wulin's body, Gu Yuna unconsciously revealed a smile. Abyss Plane. Daolo continent seems to have undergone a big change again. But soon, the dark thunderstorm energy will make the suppression of the alien face me infinitely approach zero, and I will also soon break through the God King realm. Wait. Chapter 204 Accident. To sum up, we need to go to Xingluo continent for the next experiment. We need to stay in Xingluo continent until the steps of opening Pandora's box are completed. After all, opening Pandora's box is too dangerous. One bad thing is that the sky wall will appear. Even if you are lucky and the sky wall does not appear, Pandora's tower will inevitably appear when it is opened. The sky wall is a catastrophic phenomenon that occurs when the power of Pandora's box is activated. Specifically, it is a huge wall that is enough to divide a continent into three. When the sky wall appears, the life that happens to be at the position of the wall will inevitably die. When the power of Pandora's box is activated, it will also release a special light. All people who are illuminated by the light will become warlike. Only those who have been injected with nebula gas in their bodies will not be affected by this light. Pandora's tower is a huge tower built by the walls of the sky wall. Although the disaster of Pandora's tower is not that serious, when it appears, it will also cause great damage to the surrounding environment. Therefore, Jiang Xiaofeng and others can only choose to conduct research in Xingluo continent. The reason is simple. Xingluo continent once suffered a near extinction-like massacre, and now the population is extremely sparse, and the post-disaster reconstruction work has also progressed slowly because of the severe damage in the past. In this case, the residents of Xingluo continent can easily move to other continents to survive. Dowling continent also faces the problem of sparse population and insufficient productivity. If the residents of Xingluo continent are transferred to Dowling continent, the problems of Dowling continent can be greatly alleviated. Similarly, the completely emptied Xingluo continent can be safely carried out for various experiments. After all, even if it is bombed, it is only a piece of uninhabited area, which will not cause much harm. Okay. Gu Yuna nodded. I will arrange for the residents of Xingluo continent to move to Dowling continent as soon as possible. However, although there are relatively few residents in Xingluo continent, it will still take several months to complete the migration. After all, there is a large area of sea between Xingluo continent and Dowling continent, and large ships are needed for transportation, and it takes a lot of time to go back and forth. Several months, Jiang Xiaofeng thought. Although it's a bit long, it's not unacceptable. But we need to do a good job in safety. I always feel that the sea will be very uneasy. Gu Yuna shook her head. It shouldn't be. Now that the sea god's mark has disappeared, I have gradually regained control over the sea soul beasts. I will issue an order to keep the sea soul beasts from causing trouble. As long as all the people involved in immigration don't take the initiative to provoke, there shouldn't be any problem. Normally, the biggest danger of sea transportation now is encountering sea soul beasts. If there is no soul master above Soul Daoluo in charge, once encountering a sea soul beast, it is absolutely dead. What's more, there are many sea soul beasts in the ocean that exist for more than 100,000 years, and at least a soul master of the title Daoluo level can deal with them. But if the sea soul beasts are lurking in the seabed and don't cause trouble, and the people on the ship also remember not to take the initiative to provoke the sea soul beasts, then the probability of encountering sea soul beasts will indeed approach zero infinitely. The only remaining threat is natural disasters such as tsunamis. But now is different from before. In the past, Tang Heo was the master of the plane, and it was hard to say when a man-made disaster would come. But now, Tang Heo is gone, and the disasters born under natural conditions can be avoided in advance with the current technology. In this case, the sea route will not have any great risks. Will there be any sea soul beasts out of your control? For example, they will not listen to your command or something like that. Jiang Xiaofeng asked casually. However, this casual question made Gu Yuna silent. Sea soul beasts out of Gu Yuna's command, along with the disappearance of the sea god, should not normally exist. But now, it is an abnormal period, you said. Why did Lady Gu Yuna suddenly let us migrate to the Dowling continent? On the large ship, Passerby asked puzzledly. Alas, Lady Gu Yuna is far-sighted, and her plans are beyond our ability to figure out. Instead of wasting your brains thinking about these useless things, you might as well lie down like me. Passerby patiently imparted his experience, hoping that Passerby could deeply implement his spirit of lying down. But, I heard that something big seems to be going to happen again recently, and the shock that swept the world some time ago is proof of that. Passerby was still a little worried. Passerby shook his head, revealing an expression that said he was a child who could not be taught. Haven't there been many major events in recent years? First it was the evil spirit master, then that Tang-san. Which one was not enough to kill us? Didn't we all survive? Not to mention whether there will be the major events you mentioned later. Even if there are, this one won't make a big difference. That makes sense. Passerby pondered. But if this time it really affects us? Passerby patted Passerby's shoulder earnestly. Don't worry about these things. There are tall people to support the sky when it falls. If you can support it, we can live. If you can't support it, it's useless for you to worry. You will die. Passerby suddenly realized, oh, that's right. Why should I worry about these things? Brother, you see through it. Batch after batch of large ships are slowly sailing towards the Dowling continent, but it will take several months to completely cross this vast sea. They all strictly follow Gu Yuna's instructions, and must not take the initiative to provoke the countless sea soul beasts under the sea during the voyage. At the same time, they would intentionally avoid some known gathering places of sea soul beasts. Even if some ships mistakenly entered the territory of sea soul beasts, under Gu Yuna's order, the sea soul beasts turned a blind eye to these passing ships. As long as humans did not take the initiative to cause trouble, the sea soul beasts would pretend not to see these ships. Under this non-interference situation, most ships passed the dangerous sea area safely. But even so, accidents still happened. At dawn, Passerby got up from his bed in a daze, and was about to go to the bathroom to wash up. Suddenly, a strong vibration came from under Passerby's feet, causing him to fall to the ground without waking up. What's going on? Passerby woke up instantly, looked around blankly and said, forget it, it's normal to bump on the sea. As soon as the voice fell, a more violent vibration than before came again, and the whole ship began to squeak. Under the sea, a large group of demon soul great white sharks were madly hitting and biting the bottom of the ship, and their eyes all flashed purple light. PS. Ask for monthly tickets. Recommendation tickets. Chapter 205 error. Another strong vibration came, and the whole ship dropped a few points. At this time, no matter how slow Passer A was, he realized that something was wrong. Although he didn't know what happened specifically, he was sure that something had happened to the ship. And looking at the current situation, I'm afraid it's not a small matter. If it continues like this, the whole ship may sink. In this case, I don't know if others can escape. But there is one thing Passer A can be sure of, that is, he, a dish of a bitch, will definitely not survive. But he always remembers the teachings of brother Passer B. What should I do when I encounter something? Relax your mind and lie down. I'm a small character, and there is no point in panicking. The liaison on the ship was frantically asking for help. After he connected the communication, he began to shout frantically, "We are suspected of being attacked by soul beasts. Requesting assistance. Requesting assistance." Damn it. Another strong vibration came, and this vibration was completely different from the previous one. It was a white light blade that almost cut the freighter in half. Received. Please report your position immediately. We will start rescue. A chaotic voice came from the communication device. Hello. Can you make it? Hello. Although the voice from the communication device was very chaotic, one could still hear the other party's anxiety. We are now in the Demon Soul Sea. The liaison officer stumbled and shouted. At this time, the ship had begun to shake violently and continuously, and various soul guide equipment began to become disordered. It was precisely these disorders that made the communicator unable to accurately locate the location of his ship, and could only report the approximate sea area. In fact, the communicator did not have much expectation for the so-called support. Not to mention, whether the rescuers could locate their position. Even if they could, wouldn't it take time to rush over? By the time the rescuers arrived, the daylily was cold. Another vibration came, and the communication was completely cut off. The ship was in distress in the Demon Soul Sea, which is one of the main habitats of the Demon Soul Great White Shark. Therefore, it is very likely that the Demon Soul Great White Shark attacked them. Although the communication is now cut off, we have roughly located the source of the communication signal, which is located in the southwest of the center of the Demon Soul Sea. Gu Yuna listened to the endless reports, took a deep breath and said, "An accident, as expected, still happened." No one expected that Gu Yuna would follow up on the safety of the immigrants in person. Normally, this kind of work is normally handled by subordinates who are many levels lower than Gu Yuna, and even the work report will not be submitted to her. With Gu Yuna's current status in the Daoluo Federation, it is not much different from that of an ancient emperor. And letting Gu Yuna handle these things is equivalent to asking an ancient emperor to deal with a shrew cursing in the vegetable market. But even so, Gu Yuna still took over the safety of this immigration. Jiang Xiaofeng's previous casual words reminded her that, although she had regained her dominance over most of the sea soul beasts, there were still unexpected situations. For example, the dark thunderstorm energy. Creatures affected by the energy of the dark thunderstorm will not be afraid of anyone. Their strength will be greatly enhanced, and they will become extremely violent. The current Demon Soul Great White Shark is most likely affected by the energy of the dark thunderstorm. If it weren't for the existence of the genius energy bottle, I'm afraid Gu Yuna would have to kill these creatures affected by the energy of the dark thunderstorm. I will handle this crisis. This incident is extraordinary and ordinary people can't intervene. After saying that, Gu Yuna disappeared with the genius energy bottle. Although the subordinates who received the order were a little puzzled, they quickly passed on her order. This is the dividing line for Gu Yuna to come to the sea. On the sea, Gu Yuna instantly felt the location of the wrecked ship and the Demon Soul Great White Shark that was constantly attacking the ship. Most of the Demon Soul Great White Sharks attacking the ship were 10,000 year level, and several 100,000 year level ones did not take action, just Omo there. In addition, the new ship has amazing defense, which is why it has not completely sunk so far. Silver Dragon power, the armor was instantly covered, but Gu Yuna couldn't help but frown. Compared with the previous visit to the Yin Yang Eyes, the incompatibility brought by the Silver Dragon trigger was serious enough to affect the battle. Your evolution is too high, and the silver dragon trigger can no longer keep up with you now. If you continue to use it, it is easy to cause problems. Jiang Xiaofeng's voice came from the genius bottle. After all, the original purpose of the silver dragon trigger was to temporarily enhance Gu Yuna's power without allowing the dragon god core to merge with Gu Yuna. It is a transitional type of device that will be eliminated in the future. It's just to stop this group of demon soul great white sharks, no problem. As she said that, Gu Yuna waved her hand, and a layer of shackles formed by space separated the demon soul great white sharks from the ship. In order to increase the effect of the ban, Gu Yuna even applied a layer of high pressure air wall around the school of fish. This is also a way of using abilities that Gu Yuna didn't know before. Hundreds of cubic meters of air were compressed into an air wall less than 1 centimeter thick. This level of control was something that Gu Yuna could not do before. Damn. With a snap of her fingers, the ship, which was already showing signs of sinking, was instantly transported to the dock of Dowling Continent with the people and the ship. The sea surface was also emptied, leaving only these imprisoned demon soul great white sharks. A purple light suddenly bombarded the air wall, but the air wall did not move at all. It seems that you are the leader of this group of demon soul great white sharks, and your cultivation is not low. Looking at the demon soul great white shark that broke free from the space confinement and attacked the air wall, Gu Yuna muttered to herself. Before this demon soul great white shark had not made a move, indicating that it was relatively less affected by the dark thunderstorm energy and could remain calm to a certain extent. Perhaps there is a factor of how much energy it absorbs, but it is enough to show that its cultivation is not low. You have 200,000 years of cultivation? Not bad, but before she finished speaking, Gu Yuna suddenly paused and then looked at her driver in astonishment. Sparks began to appear at the interface of the silver dragon trigger, and then it suddenly popped out. A burst of silver light particles scattered from the armor, and the silver dragon-shaped Kamen Rider Oboro also degenerated to the initial form. The sudden attenuation of power caused the space shackles and the air wall to dissipate because they lost control. Especially the air wall, because it was made of compressed air. It directly produced a terrifying explosion after losing control. A large area of demon soul great white sharks was directly blown to pieces, and Gu Yuna, who was closer to the center of the explosion, also suffered considerable damage. The blood dyed the sea red, and the flesh of demon soul great white sharks was everywhere. The blood stimulated the remaining demon soul great white sharks, and they began to devour the bodies of their companions frantically, and their leader attacked Gu Yuna frantically. Gu Yuna, who returned to her initial form, now only has the strength of a regular priest, and the demon soul great white shark leader, who was strengthened by the energy of the dark thunderstorm, also has this level of strength. With such a sudden change, Gu Yuna couldn't react at all. Originally, she was going to gently purify the group of demon soul great white sharks, but now, a large number of demon soul great white sharks died directly in her hands. With her mind shaken, Gu Yuna even lost to the attack of the demon soul great white sharks. Jiang Xiaofeng sighed and said, "Control it first, and then let me do it. I have an idea, maybe it will work." Another space confinement temporarily sealed the leader of the demon soul great white shark. The difference from the previous one was that this time the confinement could exist for a period of time, even if it was out of Gu Yuna's control. The next moment, Jiang Xiaofeng's data stream poured into Gu Yuna's body, and Gu Yuna's pupils also turned blue and red. Jiang Xiaofeng gently removed the magic dragon inserted in the drive, and took out the dangerous trigger from somewhere. Maximum hazard on, extreme hazard on. Chapter 206, Kamen Rider build reappears. Wait, do you want to use your energy bottle? But my body cannot adapt to energy bottles other than dragons. If you use other energy bottles, it is likely that there will be a rejection reaction that is no less than the one just now. Gu Yuna's anxious voice sounded in Jiang Xiaofeng's mind, obviously trying to organize his actions at this time. Believe me, according to my estimation, it should be fine. As she said, the dangerous trigger was gently inserted into the driver. The fully loaded rabbit tank Phoenix energy bottle appeared in Jiang Xiaofeng's hand, and a red light began to appear as Jiang Xiaofeng continued to shake. Rabbit and rabbit. The folded energy bottle was gently placed into the groove of the driver, and Jiang Xiaofeng also began to quickly turn the joystick, and the black metal frame extended. The space confinement set by Gu Yuna before was finally broken free by the demon soul great white shark, and it swung its huge tail towards Jiang Xiaofeng, who was hovering in the air. A huge purple light blade was cut off instantly, but such a terrifying attack was easily blocked by the metal frame that suddenly appeared. Jiang Xiaofeng slowly closed his eyes. This was the first time he tried to transform since he regained consciousness. Although according to his estimation, the whole process should not have any major problems, but at this moment, Jiang Xiaofeng was still a little nervous. Henshin overflow mode. The metal frame closed instantly and then slowly opened, revealing the double rabbit form, dangerous rabbit tank form. A red mechanical rabbit jumped out from nowhere, decomposed into 5 armor modules in the air, and loaded them on the dangerous rabbit tank form of the creation rider in turn. Pure red swift jumper rabbit, double rabbit form, super dangerous, super fast. With the black dangerous rabbit tank form as the base body, the double rabbit form equipped with red armor modules stood quietly in the air. After 7 years, Kamen Rider Creation Rider, double rabbit form, appeared again on Daoluo continent. Seeing that the obstructing metal frame disappeared, the demon soul great white shark attacked again. But it only saw a flash of red after images, and all the attacks fell into the MTC. Jiang Xiaofeng had already come behind the demon soul great white shark. He clenched his fist and quickly glanced at the data on the panel. The night system was running perfectly, without any lack of adaptability. And compared with 7 years ago, the current values of the double rabbit form were even stronger. But it was normal to think about it. Gu Yuna's body was stronger than Jiang Xiaofeng at that time. And Jiang Xiaofeng's current danger level had reached 6.2, which was 0.6 levels higher than that of the year. Especially the breakthrough of the danger level 6.0, the improvement brought was unparalleled. If divided according to the Daoluo continent's combat power system, the current double rabbit form should have the combat power of a top level 3rd level god. Jiang Xiaofeng took out the genius energy bottle and muttered to himself, I wonder if this can be used. As he said that, Jiang Xiaofeng tapped the genius energy bottle lightly. Great, outstanding, all ye, full. It seems that the genius energy bottle cannot be used for the time being, and I may need to wait until my body is fully recovered. Just now, Jiang Xiaofeng tried to activate the genius energy bottle. The genius energy bottle was not unresponsive, but it just failed to start completely. This means that Jiang Xiaofeng has met most of the conditions for activating the genius energy bottle. After all, if someone with insufficient character or insufficient danger level activates it, the genius energy bottle will not react at all. The specific effect is like a toy without batteries. Therefore, Jiang Xiaofeng can only make such a guess. After all, the only thing he lacks now is a complete body. The demon soul great white shark, which has lost its target, began to look around and began to look for the disappeared Jiang Xiaofeng. Jiang Xiaofeng took out the full bottle breaker, switched it to the giant cannon mode, and took out the spider energy bottle at the same time. Spider, gently pulled the trigger. Full bottle break. A huge spider web shot out instantly, sticking to all the demon soul great white sharks. Jiang Xiaofeng then took out the gun-like device made by Gu Yuna, which was used to spread the purification power of the genius energy bottle over a large area, so as to achieve group purification. But because Gu Yuna's professionalism was not very strong, this device was still a bit crude for Jiang Xiaofeng. Therefore, Jiang Xiaofeng also took the time to improve the device, to make the purification effect better. The genius energy bottle was gently inserted into the gun, and the colorful light continued to flow on the gun. Aiming at the crazy demon soul great white sharks, Jiang Xiaofeng gently pulled the trigger. The colorful light slowly spread downwards, covering all the demon soul great white sharks. Under the purification power of the genius energy bottle, all the demon soul great white sharks gradually regained their calm. The leader of the demon soul great white sharks looked at the strange armored man standing in the sky with a complicated expression. He was the one who killed half of the demon soul great white sharks, but he was also the one who freed them from madness. A flash of light passed, and the leader of the demon soul great white sharks turned into a beautiful woman with a strange skin color. She looked at Jiang Xiaofeng, who was still in the form of 2 rabbits, and said softly, "Thank you for your help, and for saving us from madness." Jiang Xiaofeng looked at the demon soul great white shark that had turned into a human form in front of him, put away the fully loaded energy bottle destroyer and genius energy bottle, and then said apologetically, "Sorry, there were some accidents just now, which caused you." The demon soul great white shark shook his head. "It's okay, I don't blame you. If I have to blame someone, I can only blame the purple black lightning that suddenly appeared." She could see that the blow that killed half of their tribe should have been an accident. If it weren't for the person in front of her, their entire tribe might have been doomed. Not to mention that the other party just had an accident while helping, even if the nature of the whole process was turned into a transaction, such as half of the tribe was used as a price to exchange for all the demon soul great white sharks to regain consciousness. Although such a transaction would cause the demon soul great white shark to suffer great losses, it was not unacceptable overall. If even such a deliberate transaction could be accepted, why couldn't she accept the unintentional accident when the other party released goodwill? Thinking of this, she was relieved. She was certainly heartbroken about the death of half of her tribe, but she would not blame the person in front of her. Speaking of which, do you have a name? Jiang Xiaofeng always felt that the person in front of her seemed to have seen him somewhere before, and he should be a character who had appeared in the plot. The demon soul great white shark was slightly stunned, and then said, "Someone once gave me a name, called Xiaobei, but I no longer use this name now." Chapter 207 Compatibility. Jiang Xiaofeng had an impression of the name Xiaobei. Jiang Xiaofeng had no impression of whether she appeared in the original version of Download 3, but she was a supporting character with a high appearance rate in Download 1. At that time, Tangsen went to Seagate Island to participate in the Seagate 9 tests. The Seagate Island at that time was not the same place as the Seagate Island in the core area of Shrek Academy now. The current Seagate Island is an artificial island, named just to commemorate Tangsen. Of course, now that the faith established by Tangsen has collapsed, Seagate Island has also changed its name. The previous Seagate Island sank after Tangsen inherited the throne of Seagate. Because the meaning of the existence of that Seagate Island was to find the successor of Seagate. Since the successor has inherited the throne, Seagate Island naturally lost the necessity of existence. Of course, this was not Tangsen's fault, but the rules set by the first generation of Seagate Poseidon. The leader of the demon soul great white shark at that time, Xiaobei, provided them with great help in this process. And the demon soul great white shark in front of Jiang Xiaofeng, who turned into a human form, was the Xiaobei of that year. But what can I say? Say she is not doing well. In just 20,000 years, her cultivation has broken through to 200,000 years, becoming a beast with 200,000 years of cultivation. With the relatively mediocre talent of the demon soul great white shark clan, such a cultivation speed is unimaginable. But if you say she is doing well, that is absolutely bullshit. As a race that once had the closest relationship with the sea god, we don't seek to dominate the ocean. At least humans can hunt their tribe at will. Isn't this too much to ask? But in fact, the demon soul great white shark will not only be actively hunted by humans, and because of the bloodthirsty and easily attracted to blood, the traps made with this characteristic are simply unsuccessful for the demon soul great white shark. Some forces even use the demon soul great white shark for trials. After all, the demon soul great white shark will show extremely strong aggressiveness when it smells blood. Only when the cultivation is high enough can this instinct be restrained. Those with high cultivation can't come, and those with low cultivation will attack desperately. Who doesn't love such a suitable trial object? In summary, the demon soul great white shark is in a very bad situation among the sea soul beasts. Jiang Xiaofeng sighed, "I'll leave the soul beast to you." As he said that, Jiang Xiaofeng took off the energy bottle on the drive, and then turned into a data stream, and returned to the genius energy bottle. The next second, Gu Yuna regained control of her body, and then looked at the demon soul great white shark leader in front of her with a complicated expression. After all, the soul beast in front of her was once in the same camp as Tangsen. And what Tangsen did was enough to make Gu Yuna hate him to the bone. After a long silence, both sides looked at each other in silence. In the end, Gu Yuna gave up this collective revenge. Even the Titan giant ape and the Azure bull python, two soul beasts that were closer to Tang San, Gu Yuna only let them work as coolies instead of killing them to vent her anger. Since you hate Tang San, you must never become the second Tang San. Otherwise, what is the difference between you and Tang San? You go back. Human hunting will no longer continue, and you can live in peace in the sea. If you find a sea soul beast with a similar situation to yours, remember to tell me in time, Gu Yuna said calmly. As she spoke, Gu Yuna handed a special communication device to the demon soul great white shark. When the time comes, find a place close to the sea surface first, and then use this to contact me. This communication device is very simple to operate. It has only one function, which is to initiate communication with Gu Yuna. Moreover, it has added waterproof and pressure resistant designs, and it will not be damaged even in the deep sea. However, there is no signal in the deep sea, and it is easy to fail to communicate directly in the deep sea. Therefore, Gu Yuna asked her to get close to the sea surface when she needs to communicate, or even leave the sea surface directly. I know. The demon soul great white shark responded and took the communicator. As soon as the voice fell, Gu Yuna disappeared with a silver light. This is the dividing line for Gu Yuna to return to the office. So, this silver dragon trigger will not be used in the future, Gu Yuna said to herself while holding the silver dragon trigger. Theoretically, this is true. After all, the silver dragon trigger was originally developed as a temporary item. Now that you have evolved to the point where the silver dragon trigger cannot keep up with you, it is normal for it to be eliminated. Jiang Xiaofeng's voice came from the genius energy bottle. But before you complete your evolution, it is inevitable that your combat power will decline. But it's not a big problem. I can merge with you and transform into Kamen Rider Foundry again. The combat power of the current Kamen Rider Foundry, after entering the overflow mode, can directly be equivalent to the top 3rd level god, which is much stronger than Gu Yuna's Silver Dragon form. In a sense, their high-end combat power has increased rather than decreased. When it comes to this, Gu Yuna can't help but wonder. Speaking of which, why can my body adapt to your energy bottle? In theory, I should only be able to use the dragon energy bottle. Gu Yuna has tried to use other energy bottles, except the dragon before. But as Jiang Xiaofeng said, her body cannot adapt to these energy bottles, and there is no reaction when using the energy bottles. Remember what I said before. The compatibility between your body and my data is constantly improving. Every time you possess me, the compatibility is improving. Now, our compatibility has reached an extremely high level, Jiang Xiaofeng explained. From a certain perspective, your body is already very similar to mine. Of course, this is just a metaphorical statement. There are still essential differences between you and me. Gu Yuna nodded thoughtfully. Jiang Xiaofeng continued, but when my data was restored, and I possessed you again, everything changed. Your body is similar to mine, plus my soul. How much difference do you have from me except for your appearance? Gu Yuna was shocked. She suddenly understood why she could complete the transformation of Kamen Rider Foundry after Jiang Xiaofeng possessed her. Don't worry, you are still you, and that won't change. Jiang Xiaofeng comforted, not to mention that there are still a lot of essential differences between you and me. Even if there aren't, the differences between people can't be defined so easily. Hearing this, Gu Yuna couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. Just now, her thinking accidentally walked into a dead end, and she only reacted after Jiang Xiaofeng's reminder. Jiang Xiaofeng said to himself, however, if the adaptability continues to improve, perhaps one thing will become possible. I generally call it innovation. Chapter 208, Creation. Chuangyu? Gu Yuna was a little confused. This was the first time she heard this word. Remember what I said before. When two energy bottles that have completed miracle evolution appear, it can trigger the ultimate chemical reaction that transcends the law. And this requires two Kamen Riders who have completed the final evolution. The first one is Kamen Rider Chuangyu. When my danger level reaches 7.0 or above, my rabbit energy bottle can complete the evolution. And the second one is you, Kamen Rider Oboro. Your energy bottle has already begun to evolve. Kamen Rider Oboro is expected to be the first knight to complete the evolution. Jiang Xiaofeng explained. I have heard of the ultimate chemical reaction you mentioned. Gu Yuna said thoughtfully, but what kind of chemical reaction will it produce? When two evolution energy bottles appear, combined with the power of the genius energy bottle, the strongest form of the Chuanqi series can be born. I generally call it Chuangaiu. As he spoke, Jiang Xiaofeng turned into a data stream and poured out of the genius energy bottle. Turn on the computer and follow my instructions to open the file. Gu Yuna nodded, then turned on the computer and opened a software called Rider System according to Jiang Xiaofeng's instructions. In the search box, she typed, "Cross-Z build." The next moment, a large amount of data began to emerge, and at the top was a picture of a form that Gu Yuna had never seen before. It looks a bit like the best match form of Cross-Z build, or a mixed experimental form, but not quite. Rabbit and dragon, can these two energy bottles be combined? It was a strange form with red and blue alternating colors. It looked like a mixed experimental form composed of non-optimal energy bottles, but the device inserted on the drive was a device similar to a bubble tank. Moreover, even if it was an experimental form, it was a combination of energy bottles of two different systems, organic and inorganic. But this form was obviously a combination of two organic systems, dragon and rabbit. Gu Yuna had seen the combination of the same system before. The three forms of double rabbits, double tanks, and double phoenixes were the same system. But these three combinations were all made with the same material. Moreover, this form is definitely not the initial version. The rabbit unit is a bit like some components of the double rabbit form, and the dragon unit on the other side is not like an ordinary component. Especially under the body, there is a skirt that symbolizes a strong. This is what I call Cross-Z build. The full name is Cross-Z build. It is a miraculous form that combines Kamen Rider Cross and Cross in another world. It has power that surpasses all the knights in the Cross series. Because it is fused with the genius energy bottle, this form naturally inherits all the abilities of the genius form, that is, the abilities of all energy bottles. Gu Yuna began to quickly browse the detailed data of this form. The more she read, the more shocked she was. Especially when combined with the abilities of the genius form, Gu Yuna felt that this form was full of two words, idealism and cheating. For example, the power of boxing. This version of Cross-Z, the initial left fist force is 64.2 T, and the initial right fist force is 55.0 tons. It seems that this value is not high. But in fact, if you stack one octopus energy bottle, the fist power will be enhanced 8 times, and the left fist power will instantly reach 513.6 tons. What's more, there are more than just octopus energy bottles that enhance fist power, and the genius form can stack them all, such as gorilla energy bottles, tram energy bottles, and rocket energy bottles. With a lot of abilities combined, it is not impossible to break 1,000 tons of fist power. Chuangaiu's abilities are not just the part possessed by the genius form. The boxing gloves of the Silver Dragon unit can respond to the enthusiasm of the transformer and continuously improve the fist power. When the joystick is turned at high speed, it can also play a special killing beyond common sense. The Golden Rabbit unit can continuously create obstacles that are absolutely established and cannot be resisted. There are many other abilities like this, such as forcing a 50-50 fight and various idealistic bursts. The most important thing is that Chuangaiu can ignore the laws of physics as needed, thereby making the opponent's abilities ineffective. So next, our goal is to complete the evolution as soon as possible? Gu Yuna asked. To be precise, several goals are completed simultaneously. Jiang Xiaofeng emphasized. First, complete the evolution as soon as possible. Second, open Pandora's box and use the energy it releases to strengthen the Daoluo plane. At the same time, refine the Pandora's box white metal plate from it. Before facing Glizer, we must completely solve the abyss plane and the law problems of Daoluo continent. After that, we will be ready to fight Glizer, right? Gu Yuna smiled and continued. Yes. Then, wait until the immigration of Xingluo continent is completed, and then officially start. 2 months later, the immigration of Xingluo continent was officially completed. Through the data analyzed by satellite observation, Jiang Xiaofeng believes that Glizer will be officially born in about 5 years. Note, Xiaofeng played the future image at that time, and Glizer was still in the process of formation. There may be errors, but the approximate time should be like this. When Pandora's box is opened, it will release terrifying energy, and this energy is very easy to dissipate. In order to make full use of this energy, Jiang Xiaofeng began a long-term research. At the beginning, Jiang Xiaofeng's idea was to create some kind of device to intercept this energy and store it. But the energy in Pandora's box is too huge. According to Jiang Xiaofeng's calculations, nothing can withstand all the energy except Pandora's box. Therefore, Jiang Xiaofeng can't change his mind. It's better to dredge than to block. While releasing the energy is converted and directly input into the download plane. But after simulation, Jiang Xiaofeng thinks it still doesn't work. The reason is the same as above. The energy in Pandora's box is too huge. If it is infused into the download plane in one breath, this world will definitely explode like a bloated balloon. Therefore, the process of inputting energy can only be carried out slowly, and the best way is to store it first. But in this way, the problem is back to square one. If you want to store the energy, but there is no suitable container, you can only try to dredge. The principle of dredging is equivalent to the principle of Deus flood control. But Jiang Xiaofeng is facing an extremely embarrassing problem. The sea is not big enough. So, a dead loop is born. Except for Pandora's box itself, nothing can accommodate such a huge amount of energy at one time. This problem troubled Jiang Xiaofeng and also made his research fall into a bottleneck period. Jiang Xiaofeng felt that his thinking seemed to have reached a dead end, and he had to try to change his thinking. Chapter 209 Broadcast. No, if we continue like this, a lot of time will be wasted here. Looking at the various information flashing on the computer, Jiang Xiaofeng in the data state scratched his hair in distress. Is it possible to give up the energy in Pandora's box? Just open the box and let the energy inside dissipate? It can only be said that, if a solution is not developed after a certain period of time, Jiang Xiaofeng must give up. After absorbing a demon plane, the download plane has also stabilized a lot, which can be regarded as alleviating the urgent need. Although it is normal to spend more than 10 or 20 years to develop a new science and technology, Jiang Xiaofeng just doesn't have so much time to waste. He needs more time to prepare for the battle with Glizer, and to fight against Glizer, he needs the white hole creation, which is currently only in the conception. But the conditions for the birth of this form are so complicated that the creation alone can be called a miracle form. The so-called miracle form means that its birth is a miracle. Miracle forms are often unstable, and it is difficult to use them stably and for a long time, like the double rabbit and double tank forms. What's more, there is a white hole trigger that only exists in theory and has not been developed yet. If you want to develop a white hole trigger, it is estimated that there will be a lot of problems. Even if both of these things are developed, it will only be equal to Glizer, and neither can beat the other. If you want to truly solve this crisis, you have to find a way to solve it. Just thinking about it makes my head hurt. There are so many things to solve, and each one is more difficult than the other. Xiaofeng, come and take a look. What are these? Guyun's surprised voice suddenly came, attracting Jiang Xiaofeng's attention. I saw a large number of light spots suddenly appearing in the video taken by the satellite. These light spots look no different from stars at first glance, but Guyun knows that it is impossible for so many stars to suddenly appear in the satellite video. Therefore, it is very likely that there are some other objects that look very similar to stars because they are too far away or too small in size. Hearing this, Jiang Xiaofeng floated to Guyun's side. Without saying anything, Guyun turned the video to the time when everything just started and explained, there is about a 10-minute delay in this video because the distance is far, but it was still captured by the telescope on the satellite. This is an empty space and everything looks normal until now. But in the next moment, the center of the video seemed to be distorted, and then a large number of light spots suddenly appeared. This sudden scene, anyone with normal intelligence would understand that something is wrong. The distortion just now, is it similar to your space transmission? No, it looks more like something else. A wormhole. Jiang Xiaofeng frowned. Wormhole? Gu Yuna said in astonishment. Gu Yuna has heard of this concept, but with the current level of technology in our low continent, wormholes are too far away. Of course, this is still a concept seen in Jiang Xiaofeng's study materials. With wormholes, civilizations will be able to travel freely in the universe. Could it be that these light spots are? Gu Yuna said in disbelief. Wormholes, plus a large number of unclear light spots. These two things together easily make Gu Yuna think of something. For example, something that is almost always associated with wormholes in movies and TV shows. Spaceships. This planet is rich in energy, so let's replenish it here. Once the energy is replenished, we will immediately start the wormhole jump. Time waits for no one. Lanju paused and continued. By the way, let's check if there are any nearby planets. No need to search, just send the information directly. As Lanju issued his order, a large number of crew members drove mining spaceships to a nearby planet and began to mine materials that could provide energy. At the same time, a special wavaband was transmitted in all directions. How long can we escape? Zhao Qianlin said with a worried look. That strange black hole came too suddenly, and only a few people escaped in the end. I have a hunch that the black hole will become a disaster that sweeps the universe. By then, where can we escape to? Hearing this, Lanju couldn't help but reveal a look of despair. But besides escaping, what else can we do? Almost all attacks will be absorbed by it and become part of it. Even the strongest attack cannot exceed its absorption threshold. All we can do is escape, and escape forever. Or, pray that there is an existence in this vast universe that can destroy it. Regional broadcast information. Jiang Xiaofeng looked at the broadcast information received by the satellite in surprise. This is a broadcast sent to all corners of the area, and it seems that the other party does not care whether anyone receives it. Gu Yuna looked at the broadcast information that appeared on the monitor and muttered to herself, this seems to be a warning. Although it has not been deciphered yet, it looks like this. Jiang Xiaofeng pondered. The reason why Gu Yuna could see at a glance that this was a warning was because the other party spent a lot of effort to make it easy for the person who obtained the information to decipher. It even came with some basic tutorials on the other party's text, so that the other party could understand the information. In theory, as long as technology reaches a level that can receive information, it is not too difficult to decipher it. Of course, if the technology is too primitive, there is no way. Soon, Jiang Xiaofeng sorted out the general information and marked some places. Warning. Roughly this meaning, escape as soon as possible. Maybe it wants to express a black hole is coming. It has destroyed many, various sizes of, should it be to express many planets. We have been destroyed by, and are now escaping. If anyone receives it, please escape as soon as possible. S route is as follows. A lot of, arranged in a specific order, are on the far right, and an arrow drawn in front of it. Maybe the arrangement of circles is intended to indicate the position of nearby planets, thereby indicating the direction of the black hole. The message is very simple, just to let people escape quickly, and by the way, explained why people are asked to escape quickly, and the rest of the large amount of information is trying to explain some of the special content. For example, the name of the black hole, maybe they call it something else, so they drew a and used a picture to indicate that a large amount of things would be swallowed by the. There are many other symbols like this. Anyway, they are trying to find a way to explain this information. If I guess correctly, this group of people should have discovered the arrival of Glizer in some way before they perished. Jiang Xiaofeng pondered, so some of them took this spaceship and began to flee, passing through our place. Gu Yuna couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. Since they issued this alarm, it should mean that they have no conflict with us. They may even try to alert the civilization on the escape route. P.S. Please vote for the monthly ticket and the recommendation ticket. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 210. Give him a trick in their own way. At present, it is like this. Jiang Xiaofeng agreed. At present? Gu Yuna heard the hidden meaning of Jiang Xiaofeng. Do you mean there are still unexpected situations? Jiang Xiaofeng shook his head. It's hard to say. If the black spot in their information refers to the unformed glycer, then there should be a large number of interstellar fugitives. Maybe this batch of fugitives has good intentions, but it's hard to say about the next batch. But the universe is so big, there should be very few fugitives passing by us. What's more, they are all moving forward in leaps and bounds, and the probability of appearing near us will be further reduced. Gu Yuna comforted. Moreover, even if there are really malicious fugitives passing by here, we can repel them with our strength. Jiang Xiaofeng smiled. That's right. After all, we are not vegetarians. But speaking of it, if all this is ultimately irreversible, the escape they are talking about is not a way to continue the fire. Hearing this, Gu Yuna shook her head. We have too little time to send everyone away. Who will go, and who will stay at that time will become a problem that will make the whole society turbulent. That's true, but if the time comes, we can also secretly send a group of people to escape. However, there are all kinds of dangers in the universe, and then you will be responsible for protecting these people. Jiang Xiaofeng said half jokingly. Gu Yuna rolled her eyes at Jiang Xiaofeng. Why don't you go? You seem to be more suitable, right? When you are fully resurrected, your overall strength will definitely be stronger than mine, and you know more about the various equipment of the spacecraft than I do, and you can repair it if there is a malfunction. Comprehensively speaking, you are more suitable, no matter how you look at it. Oh, this. Jiang Xiaofeng was a little embarrassed, and his little thoughts seemed to be seen through. Okay, don't always think about pushing me out. You still need me to defeat glycer. Instead of studying how to send me away, you might as well study how to make the white hole creation you mentioned. When the time comes, unless you escape with me, I can't escape. And at that time, will Jiang Xiaofeng escape? The answer is obvious. I didn't expect that you can use my theory to stop me. Jiang Xiaofeng said with some emotion. Gu Yuna chuckled. This is called, give back what you have given me. Hearing this, Jiang Xiaofeng shook his head helplessly, and then prepared to continue observing the actions of the unknown warship. Wait, give back what you have given me. Jiang Xiaofeng seemed to suddenly remember something, and couldn't help but mutter. Except for Pandora's box itself, no substance can withstand the energy in it. In other words, Pandora's box can withstand such a huge force. Perhaps, we can change our thinking. First of all, the opening of the box isn't changed. When Pandora's box begins to release huge energy, we can use some method to let Pandora's box limit its own energy. Then, we can slowly input this energy into the download plane, so as to improve the download plane bit by bit. At the same time, because the energy is not all input into the download plane at once, there is no need to worry about the download plane having the problem of indigestion. There is no doubt that the technical difficulty of this solution is much greater than previously imagined, but it is currently the only solution with greater feasibility. After figuring this out, Jiang Xiaofeng suddenly had a lot of ideas, and all kinds of inspirations kept appearing in his mind. Help me keep an eye on these warships first. I need to grasp my current ideas now. Jiang Xiaofeng said hurriedly. Hey, wait a minute. Gu Yuna was about to say something, but Jiang Xiaofeng took out a black pen and started writing and drawing on the wall nearby. While drawing, he kept muttering. If Pandora's box itself is used to limit energy, the process will be much more complicated, and the previous design plans will almost have to be completely rewritten. The size and mass of Pandora's box itself are not large, and it is impossible to transform it into a large device. In order to block and limit the frequency of energy output, large equipment must be used. It is not advisable to rely solely on Pandora's box. But when Pandora's box is opened, it will not only release a large amount of energy, but also produce some derivatives, such as the huge Pandora's tower. As long as it is used, the originally white wall began to appear with strange shapes and formulas, and Gu Yuna's mouth twitched. I finally cleaned it up. But looking at Jiang Xiaofeng who could hold the pen freely, Gu Yuna couldn't help but smile. You can touch the real objects very easily now. It seems that Xiaofeng's body has been reshaped very smoothly. Jiang Xiaofeng, whose data had just been restored, could hardly touch any real objects. Except for possessing and living in the genius energy bottle, he could only float in this world like a ghost. For a person who is used to touching everything around him, it would be a terrible thing if this power was suddenly stripped away. It was okay when the data was restored, at least he could reproduce the previous feeling through possession. But for Jiang Xiaofeng, whose data had not been fully restored and could only live in the genius energy bottle, that feeling was not much better than a human stick. But all the people who knew him tacitly did not mention this matter, but lightly covered it up by playing around. But all this is about to become a thing of the past. Jiang Xiaofeng's body is gradually being reshaped, and he is no longer the ghost-like existence he used to be. He began to have a sense of reality and warmth, and everything is moving in a good direction again. In this case, no one can take this beauty away from her again, Gu Yuna swore secretly in her heart. The silver color on the dragon energy bottle seemed to deepen. Jiang Xiaofeng seemed to feel something, and the black pen in his hand paused. Then he chuckled and continued the draft in his hand. The warships anchored in this starfield opened the wormhole and left here a few days later. Without Jiang Xiaofeng saying anything, Gu Yuna could guess why these warships were anchored here. It was nothing more than a long-term interstellar jump that consumed a lot of energy. For this reason, they had to anchor here and go to some uninhabited planets to replenish energy. These uninhabited planets have no life for a long time, so naturally no one will mine on these planets. Therefore, the materials that can be used as energy on some planets have accumulated to an unimaginable degree. These planets can also be called energy planets, and they naturally become the most beautiful planets in the eyes of these interstellar travelers. Chapter 211, Rushing to Work. But these are not particularly important to Jiang Xiaofeng at the moment. You fugitives may just pass by, but just don't think about aggression. Now, the most important thing is undoubtedly how to perfectly import the energy in Pandora's box into the Daoluo plane. At present, the general plan has been completed, and the model of the auxiliary device has been built. Thanks to Zhentu's information, Jiang Xiaofeng was able to obtain the approximate data of Pandora's box energy, and therefore was able to build a model of the auxiliary device. After several simulations, the new auxiliary device can basically be confirmed to be feasible. To open Pandora's box, the purified energy bottles need to be inserted into the 6 Pandora's box metal panels in the order of the best match. That is, 10 energy bottles are inserted into each panel, for a total of 5 groups of the best match. Then, the panels with energy bottles inserted are inserted into Pandora's box in turn. When all 6 panels are inserted, Pandora's box will be completely opened. When the first panel is inserted, the first layer of Pandora's tower will appear, and Pandora's box will begin to release energy. Each time a panel is inserted, another layer of Pandora's tower will appear, and the energy released will increase exponentially. Because there was no Pandora's tower before the first panel was inserted, Jiang Xiaofeng had to find a way to deal with the first wave of energy. Fortunately, the energy released at the beginning was not too strong, and was still easy to deal with. When the first layer of Pandora's tower appears, the new auxiliary device designed by Jiang Xiaofeng can be officially activated. It will invade Pandora's tower and guide Pandora's tower to undergo some changes. For example, it will block the energy released by Pandora's box and gather it. After collecting the energy, it will be slowly released through some other methods. In this way, the Daoluo plane can continuously improve its capacity limit while absorbing energy to evolve until the energy is completely absorbed. This process will be extremely long. Before Jiang Xiaofeng crossed over, he heard that it took about 10,000 years to absorb the abyss. When absorbing the demon plane before, because there was too little meat, it was absorbed quickly, and the time required to absorb the energy in Pandora's box will only be longer than 10,000 years. But before that, Jiang Xiaofeng still had one thing to do, which was to restore the genius energy bottle into a metal panel. There were exactly 6 metal panels in Pandora's box, one of which was made into a genius energy bottle by Jiang Xiaofeng. If the genius energy bottle was not restored, Pandora's box could not be completely opened. If it was before, it would be a bit troublesome for Jiang Xiaofeng. After all, without the genius energy bottle, Jiang Xiaofeng's data would have no place to stay. But now, Jiang Xiaofeng's data has been repaired, and his body has begun to reshape. Even without the genius energy bottle, it can no longer have any impact on Jiang Xiaofeng himself. It was another test of the model. In this test, Jiang Xiaofeng added various variables to test whether the auxiliary device can stably complete its task in an emergency. That is, slowly and continuously input energy into the download plane. Because opening Pandora's box is extremely dangerous, no matter how careful you are, it is not too much. If it is not good, it will be the destruction of the entire download continent. For this reason, Jiang Xiaofeng simulated the following extreme situations. 1. Asteroid impact. When the opening location is directly hit by an asteroid, can it continue to execute its established program and complete the task without any mistakes? After the simulation, Jiang Xiaofeng concluded that a direct impact with an asteroid of at least 30 kilometers in diameter would not have much impact on it. If it goes up, unexpected situations may occur. However, if the situation really happens, it doesn't matter whether the auxiliary device can operate normally, because download continent is already cold. But now it is a simulation test, so it doesn't matter if it is a little outrageous too. Glizzard invasion. This did not withstand, or the auxiliary device was completely destroyed in a very short time. Not to mention the auxiliary device, even Pandora's tower was classified as nothingness. After resisting for a period of time 3, a large number of God King level strongmen invaded. In the simulation, they chopped around Pandora's tower for several years and barely cut out a white mark. The auxiliary device is assimilated with Pandora's tower. Unless Pandora's tower is severely damaged, the auxiliary device will not be damaged. After that, Jiang Xiaofeng simulated some extreme situations, such as zombie invasion and plate rupture. But Pandora's tower, which could survive even an asteroid impact, basically withstood all the inhuman tests set by Jiang Xiaofeng. Seeing the auxiliary device model that beautifully completed almost all the tests, Jiang Xiaofeng finally breathed a sigh of relief. It was not that Jiang Xiaofeng deliberately arranged these outrageous tests. It was because something as outrageous as Glizzard could appear, and it was not impossible for the above situation to come true. But no matter what, Jiang Xiaofeng did his best, and left it to fate. Unless there was a disaster that could directly destroy the entire download plane, don't think about interfering with the process of injecting energy. Then, let's officially start the work next. Jiang Xiaofeng said, stretching his waist. A huge project has begun. A large number of construction teams gathered in the center of Xingluo continent to carry out operations. In order to speed up the progress, the workers worked in shifts day and night. And Jiang Xiaofeng also invested a lot of energy to speed up the construction progress. It was a suspended building like a mechanical island. That's right, it was suspended. Because Pandora's tower will inevitably destroy everything on the ground nearby when it appears, the device that can withstand the first wave of energy impact must not be built on the ground. Therefore, Jiang Xiaofeng thought of building it in the air through anti-gravity technology. At the top of the mechanical island, a large number of propulsion devices were designed. Because this mechanical island is suspended by anti-gravity technology, the huge impact force released when opening Pandora's box is likely to directly lift it up. For this reason, Jiang Xiaofeng installed a large propulsion device on the top to counter the energy impact of Pandora's box. If this project is simply built by workers from download continent, it will probably take decades. But Guyuna not only asked the workers to work day and night, but also transferred a large number of high-level mecha manufacturers to assist in this huge project. With this kind of investment regardless of cost, the entire mechanical island has taken shape in less than half a year. 1949 days 4 hours 39 minutes 08 seconds. Chapter 212 Blue Buddha. Ascend. A little slower. Yes, keep this speed. A person was suspended in the air, constantly giving orders in a loud voice. From his gorgeous battle armor, one could roughly guess that this person should be a high-level mecha manufacturer. Under his command, the mechanical island started its own anti-gravity engine and began to rise slowly. Jiang Xiaofeng and Guyuna stood in the distance, looking at the slowly rising mechanical island. At this speed, it will take about half a year to complete the construction. Gu Yuna estimated. Although the investment is a lot of money, it can compress the construction period that takes decades to more than a year, so it is worth investing any more money. With such a large single expenditure, will it cause an economic collapse or something like that? Jiang Xiaofeng asked with some concern. Jiang Xiaofeng did not have a deep understanding of the economy, but he knew that a large single expenditure in the treasury would definitely have a major impact on the economy. Hearing this, Gu Yuna smiled and shook her head. Don't worry, some people are very rich in secret. As long as we have something on them, they can only become our ATMs. You mean those corrupt officials? Jiang Xiaofeng was a little surprised. But if you take money from corrupt officials, will they double their money back? You don't understand this. Corrupt officials, although they are greedy, are more afraid of death. Gu Yuna smiled with some pride. They know that I have something on them and can kill them at any time, so they naturally dare not mess around again. And my behavior is equivalent to giving them a hint. As long as you pay the money now, I can forgive the past. In this case, they will naturally be happy to spend money to get rid of the disaster. As for whether it is really forgiven, it depends on their future performance. Jiang Xiaofeng held his forehead. Well, in simple terms, it is almost equal to freeloading. Freeloading? What's wrong? Anyway, this money does not belong to them. Gu Yuna smiled. At this time, Gu Yuna's cell phone rang. It's the demon soul great white shark calling. It should be that they found another sea soul beast affected by the dark thunderstorm energy in the ocean. Gu Yuna answered the phone. After a few words, Gu Yuna put away her phone. Just as I guessed, they found another sea soul beast affected by the dark thunderstorm energy, but it has been subdued by her. I guess it's just a process this time. In the past 6 months, the demon soul great white shark has sent news several times, saying that they found a sea soul beast that was violent. After Gu Yuna went to verify, she found that all the news from the demon soul great white shark was true. With such high efficiency, it is not difficult to guess that the demon soul great white shark should have mobilized its own tribe to specifically look for these sea soul beasts in the ocean. And because the demon soul great white shark is also a relatively strong race in the ocean, most of the violent sea soul beasts will be directly subdued by them. And all Gu Yuna has to do is to purify them with the power of the genius energy bottle. However, the ocean is so vast that, even if the power of the entire demon soul great white shark tribe is mobilized, the coverage area is still too small compared to the ocean. It's like looking for a needle in a haystack. Will you go together? Gu Yuna looked at Jiang Xiaofeng and asked. Jiang Xiaofeng nodded. It's nothing anyway. Let's go. Now the construction here has been on track, and the project can continue without Jiang Xiaofeng's intervention. The reason why Jiang Xiaofeng stayed here was just because he wanted to keep improving and supervise. Seeing Jiang Xiaofeng agreed, Gu Yuna held Jiang Xiaofeng's hand. With a flash of silver light, the two disappeared from the spot. This is the dividing line, where Jiang Xiaofeng and Gu Yuna came to the sea. Jiang Xiaofeng and Gu Yuna were quietly suspended on the sea. As the saying goes, there are 3 feet of waves on the sea without wind, and there are always rolling waves on the sea. And on this already turbulent sea, the sea area under Jiang Xiaofeng and Gu Yuna's feet rolled particularly violently. Obviously, there is something under the sea. The next moment, a large number of magic soul great white sharks rushed out from the sea, and trapped in the middle of the magic soul great white sharks was a huge deep sea magic whale king. Deep sea demon whale king? Jiang Xiaofeng frowned. No, it's a little smaller than the previous one. Gu Yuna slowly closed her eyes and felt it carefully. This deep sea demon whale king seems to be connected by blood with the previous one. It should be a relative of the previous one. Maybe it's her daughter? After seeing Jiang Xiaofeng, the deep sea demon whale king instantly began to struggle violently. There was a deep hatred in his eyes, which seemed to confirm Gu Yuna's guess invisibly. The revenge for killing his mother. Jiang Xiaofeng sighed. Perhaps for this deep sea demon whale king, the previous one can at least be considered a good mother. If so, coupled with the influence of the dark thunderstorm energy, it's not surprising that he hates me. Gu Yuna picked up the genius energy bottle and the energy diffusion pistol, inserted the genius energy bottle into the groove in the gun, and then pulled the trigger. A soft colorful energy slowly merged into the struggling deep sea demon whale king. As the light continued to merge, the deep sea demon whale king's struggle stopped. The leader of the demon soul great white shark, Xiaofeng, transformed into a human form, half knelt in front of Gu Yuna, and said respectfully, "Lord Silver Dragon King, this is the victim that I discovered this time. She has 100,000 years of cultivation, and under the influence of the dark thunderstorm energy, her strength is even closer to that of a super Daoluo. Note, because her mother was killed early, she lacks sufficient resources and a safe place to practice, and her cultivation is lower than it was originally. And, she seems to be with you." Xiaofeng hesitated when she said this. She could probably guess the relationship between Jiang Xiaofeng and Gu Yuna, but it was precisely because of this that Xiaofeng didn't know how to address Jiang Xiaofeng. Gu Yuna blushed slightly, but still said calmly, "Just say she's my lover." "Yes," Xiaofeng said carefully, "she seems to have some conflicts with your lover." Jiang Xiaofeng looked at the deep sea demon whale king who had regained his composure and gradually turned into a human form and said with a complicated expression, "You are the daughter of the deep sea demon whale king before, right?" She looked at Jiang Xiaofeng, then at Gu Yuna, and finally nodded, "Yes, my name is Lan Fuzi." Lan Fuzi? Jiang Xiaofeng had some impression of this name, but it was limited to an impression. In fact, Jiang Xiaofeng did not finish reading Daosen at the time, but only read the middle and late parts. As for what happened afterwards, Jiang Xiaofeng only knew part of it by hearsay. Chapter 213 Struggle. In Jiang Xiaofeng's memory, Lan Fuzi seemed to be a boy who participated in the competition with Tang Wulin in the original book, and it seemed that he was in Gu Yuna's martial arts competition. Then, he heard that Lan Fuzi liked Tang Wulin. What the hell? Gay? In short, these are all Jiang Xiaofeng knows about Lan Fuzi. As a result, now a female deep sea demon whale king told him that her name is Lan Fuzi. If these two are the same person, well, a woman disguised as a man, an old routine. In fact, Jiang Xiaofeng's guess is almost right. The deep sea demon whale king in front of him is indeed the Lan Fuzi in his memory. When she participated in Gu Yuna's martial arts competition, she was indeed a woman disguised as a man. The only difference is that Lan Fuzi is not gay, because she is a woman. At first, she wanted to have a lesbian relationship with Gu Yuna, but was corrected by Tang Wulin. After roughly going through the information about Lan Fuzi in his mind, Jiang Xiaofeng turned his head and looked at Gu Yuna with an inquiring look. Jiang Xiaofeng didn't need to say too much. Gu Yuna understood what he meant. Gu Yuna stared at Lan Fuzi for a while, then said, "She doesn't have too much resentment or evil aura. In this case, at least it can be said that she is not the kind of bloodthirsty person. In this world, it is almost impossible for a soul master, especially a high-level soul master, not to have a life. As long as they are high-level soul masters, no one dares to say that they have not killed anyone. After all, this world is not a utopian society. At least not for the time being. In such a society, many times if you don't kill others, others will kill you. Especially when facing the former evil soul master. If you want to survive, you can only kill. Therefore, whether there is a life in your hands is not the only criterion for judging a person's character. The important thing is that, while you have great power, you stick to your original intention and don't kill indiscriminately. With Gu Yuna's current cultivation, it is enough to see through the souls of most people. If a person has only a faint blood on him, it means that the other party has rarely killed so far. If the other party's blood is heavier, it means that the other party has killed many people. But we cannot judge the good or evil of the other party because of this. The winner bears the resentment of the loser. This is inevitable. But you can't judge who the winner is and who the loser is. For example, the director of the meat union of the Kingdom of Light, Ace, he almost killed the entire race of the Yabo people. But can you say that Ace is a bad person because of this? No. Only when the resentment has deeply permeated every soul of the other party can it be said that the other party has been completely corrupted. Because this situation will only occur when killing for a long time, indulging in the pleasure of killing, and even integrating a large amount of resentment into oneself. And now Lan Fuzi obviously does not have the above mentioned situations. Go away. I know it's impossible for you not to hate me, Jiang Xiaofeng said with a sigh. However, before Jiang Xiaofeng finished speaking, Lan Fuzi shook his head. No, you are wrong. Although I don't know how to face you, I don't hate you. Looking at Jiang Xiaofeng's puzzled eyes, Lan Fuzi continued, I know that my mother is unforgivable. It is only a matter of time before she is killed by people like you. Killing for survival, such as eating or fighting for living space, is part of the natural biosphere. This kind of killing behavior, especially the killing behavior within the soul beast, cannot be measured by the conventional human concept of good and evil. But Lan Fuzi's mother, the deep sea demon whale king killed by Jiang Xiaofeng when he was out of control, is obviously not included. Whether it is for cultivation or for entertainment, the killing caused by the deep sea demon whale king has long exceeded the scope of nature. Especially the series of things she did after joining the Holy Spirit Church. In short, she has long been an unwashed character. To me, she is indeed a very good mother. So, it is impossible to say that I have no opinion about you. But I know you are right, so I don't hate you. Lan Fuzi said to himself, as if he was talking to Jiang Xiaofeng and to himself. Yes, I don't hate him. He can bring a better future to soul beasts. Lan Fuzi whispered in a voice that only he could hear, as if he was firming up his heart. Facts have proved that Lan Fuzi is not very good at hiding his heart. Whether it is Jiang Xiaofeng, Gu Yuna, or even Xiao Bei, who is beside Ono, can see Lan Fuzi's entanglement. In the original timeline, because Tang Wulin was the person she liked, Lan Fuzi's hatred was not deep after Tang Wulin killed her mother, because love diluted most of the hatred. In addition, it was the Abyss Saint who gave her mother the last blow, which further shared Lan Fuzi's hatred. But the situation is different now. Before this, Lan Fuzi and Jiang Xiaofeng did not even have any intersection, and there could be no personal feelings to weaken Lan Fuzi's hatred. Intellectually, Lan Fuzi knew that Jiang Xiaofeng did nothing wrong. But emotionally, she couldn't have a good impression of Jiang Xiaofeng. It's like you have a mother who is unforgivable, but treats you sincerely. No matter how cruel she is to others, she doesn't want you to suffer any grievances. In this case, if a stranger suddenly kills your mother for the people, even if you know that what he did is right and you have no reason to blame him, deep down in your heart, will you have a good impression of him? The answer is of course impossible. Even if you know that your idea is wrong, you still can't help but think, why can't he let your mother live? Why can't he use other methods to make his mother turn over a new leaf? If you really encounter this situation, it is already a rare thing to be able to suppress emotional hatred with rational thinking. And this is what Lan Fuzi did, trying to suppress emotion with reason. However, the emergence of dark thunderstorm energy shattered all her ideals. So the look she gave Jiang Xiaofeng at that time was so full of hatred. Perhaps because she has been free and unrestrained since childhood, Lan Fuzi is not good at hiding her emotional thinking. No matter how much she emphasizes that she does not hate Jiang Xiaofeng and the others can see Lan Fuzi's thoughts at a glance. Gu Yuna said calmly, whether you hate us or not has nothing to do with us. As long as you behave yourself in the future, we will naturally ignore you. Things like cutting the grass and eradicating the roots depend on the situation. Xiao Bei said that he did not dare to interrupt. Lan Fuzi nodded weakly, then looked up and asked, well, do you need a sea soul beast that can transform for 100,000 years to help? I heard that every place is very busy now. PS. Asking for monthly tickets and recommendation tickets. Chapter 214 Breakthrough Master. Hearing this, Jiang Xiaofeng and Gu Yuna looked at each other in surprise. You want to join us? Jiang Xiaofeng asked, after coming to his senses. Lan Fuzi nodded slightly, and then whispered, my parents have committed many unforgivable sins. I hope to do something to atone for their sins. Jiang Xiaofeng thought for a while, then looked at Gu Yuna and said, Gu Yuna, will you arrange her? Gu Yuna nodded slightly, no problem. As she spoke, Gu Yuna began to prepare to arrange Lan Fuzi's whereabouts. At this moment, Jiang Xiaofeng's phone rang. Who is it? Are there so many things today? Jiang Xiaofeng picked up the phone with some doubts. Tang Wulin? Although he was still a little confused, Jiang Xiaofeng still answered Tang Wulin's call. Hello, Xiaofeng, I just completed the heavenly forging. Tang Wulin's uncontrollable excitement came from the phone. Maybe after a while, I can try to complete the spiritual forging of Pandora alloy. Spiritual forging creation. Spiritual forging is equivalent to giving metal its own life. The metal used by the Night System now is the spiritual alloy of the 1000 forgings mentioned in Downlow Continent. However, because this alloy is Pandora alloy, the difficulty of forging rises sharply. And to complete the spiritual forging of Pandora alloy, its difficulty even exceeds the highest level of traditional forging, heaven forging. In other words, even the master craftsman who has reached the pinnacle of forging in Downlow Continent cannot complete the spiritual forging of Pandora alloy. According to Jiang Xiaofeng's estimation at the time, it is probably only after Tang Wulin completes the heaven forging and makes further breakthroughs in forging that it is possible to complete the spiritual forging of Pandora alloy. However, at that time, Tang Wulin had just completed the spiritual forging not long ago and was still far from the heaven forging. So at that time, Jiang Xiaofeng could only regard this idea as, the future is promising. Later, it was still relying on Feng Wuyu to complete the spiritual forging of Pandora alloy. Note, 100 forging, 1000 forging, spirit forging, soul forging, heaven forging. Although it did not improve the combat effectiveness of the Night System too much, it also had a lot of help, such as defense. With the improvement of defense, the Night System blocked several attacks that were originally unblockable. For example, when fighting against Transcends consciousness in the Abyss Plane, if the Night System's armor had not been upgraded, it might have disintegrated instantly, and Jiang Xiaofeng would not have had time to undo the transformation. At that time, because of the excessive nebula gas in Jiang Xiaofeng's body, the Night System disintegrated, which would directly lead to Jiang Xiaofeng's death. If Jiang Xiaofeng died at that time, everything would really be over. Of course, the damage to the Shura sword itself was also a big factor. From 100 forgings to 1000 forgings, it is a quantitative improvement. And from 1000 forgings to spiritual forging, it is a qualitative leap. If Pandora alloy completes spiritual forging, the combat effectiveness of the Night System may rise to a higher level instantly. If divided according to the combat power system of Downlow Continent, Jiang Xiaofeng's double rabbit double tank form may have a level above the 3rd level god, but it has not yet reached the level of the 2nd level god. If metal wants to complete the heavenly forging, it needs to go through thunder tribulation. The right amount of thunder tribulation can make it transform, but once the thunder tribulation is excessive, the heavenly forging will fail, and the metal will be scrapped. Tang Wulin in the original timeline had the Thundering Hellvine, which could absorb excess thunder tribulation, and thus perfectly control the amount of thunder tribulation. But although Tang Wulin is now stronger than before, he has lost this ability that is extremely convenient for Xiandun. Therefore, Tang Wulin completed Xiandun much later than before. It is said that in order to better control the amount of thunder tribulation, Tang Wulin once again began to delve into his own field. After many experiments, Tang Wulin also had a certain understanding of thunder tribulation. Now that Xiandun has succeeded, it is probably because Tang Wulin has made considerable progress in this area. Okay. Jiang Xiaofeng smiled. When you are more familiar with Xiandun, you can try the spiritual forging of Pandora alloy. I think so too. Completing the spiritual forging of Pandora alloy. Haha, just thinking about it makes me excited. Hearing Tang Wulin's confident and yearning voice on the phone, Jiang Xiaofeng couldn't help but sigh that time has really changed. Thinking back then, this idea could only be thought of in my mind, and there was no way to put it into practice. It was probably around the 50th or 60th chapter. Unexpectedly, in the blink of an eye, it has been more than 200 chapters, and Tang Wulin is no longer the child he was back then. He is now a Kamen Rider who can stand on his own and can try to put Jiang Xiaofeng's idea into practice. Did something break just now? Never mind. Then I'll wait for your good news. When you feel confident, you can come and try it at any time. The theory that was once second only to the idea is about to become a reality, and Jiang Xiaofeng can't help but get excited. Then I'll hang up first. I'll practice Xiandun more. I have nothing else to do this time. I just want to talk to you about this. Goodbye. Well, goodbye. Jiang Xiaofeng hung up the phone with a smile on his face. With Gu Yuna's hearing, she could naturally hear what Tang Wulin said on the phone. To be able to complete Xianduan at this age, Tang Wulin's talent is really terrifying. Gu Yuna couldn't help but admire. Jiang Xiaofeng was in a good mood at this time, and he couldn't help but look forward to it, of course, and his lifespan will be very long, and he can probably continue to improve in forging. Maybe one day in the future, Tang Wulin can complete the soul forging of Pandora alloy, or even the sky forging. Although the forging of Pandora alloy will definitely cause a lot of consumption, the Daoluo plane that has absorbed the demon plane can already bear some of the consumption. And as long as it absorbs the energy of Pandora's box, the Daoluo plane can easily bear these consumptions. Gu Yuna smiled and looked at Jiang Xiaofeng's hopeful vision. For her now, the things like the sky forging that Jiang Xiaofeng mentioned are secondary. The improvement of strength is important, but it is not the main thing. What Gu Yuna wants now is that Jiang Xiaofeng can always be so happy. Line Fozi, can you transform into a human and start over now? Gu Yuna suddenly asked. Line Fuzi was slightly stunned, then shook his head and said, not now. My cultivation is not the level of 100,000-year soul beast that has just broken through, so I can't rebuild it. Gu Yuna pondered for a while. No, there is still a way. But don't rush now. When the time is right, I will use the treasures of heaven and earth to give you another chance to rebuild. And I can guarantee your absolute safety during the rebuilding period. Line Fuzi was confused. But there is one thing I need to let everyone know. You are a human in the form of a soul beast. You will become the first symbol of friendship between humans and soul beasts. P.S. New book release. Kidian Super God, Light of the Earth. This Earth may have its own life. Teacher Wu only intercepted part of the information of the Earth and created the Fighting Buddha that is comparable to the 3 major god-making projects. Time has come to modern times, and a folk academic exchange organization has been born on the Earth. It is composed entirely of young geniuses, and its name is Alchemy Star. When the alien civilization invaded in large numbers, the land and the ocean roared. Chapter 215, Heavenly Forged Silver. If humans and soul beasts want to truly live together, they need something as a good start. As the co-lord of soul beasts and the president of the federation, I'm different from you. Therefore, this task can only be completed by you. When the time is right, I will promulgate a new law. When soul beasts transform into humans, they only need to register in advance to get the protection of the federation and let them grow up safely to full adults. And you will be the first one. Seeing Lanfuse's puzzled face, Gu Yuna explained. But, safety issues. Gu Yuna shook her head, not to mention that humans will no longer need soul rings at that time. This alone will increase your safety dramatically. What's more, I will let Tang Wulin protect you. A person with the combat power of a 3rd level god will protect you by your side. I don't think anyone else on Daoluo continent can hurt you. The strength of a 3rd level god. Line Fuzi sighed in her heart. She only knew that the strength of a 3rd level god was very strong, but she had no idea how strong it was. But if it was just to protect her own safety, it should be enough. Okay. Line Fuzi nodded. Then is there anything else I can do now? Gu Yuna shook her head. Now, you just follow what the demon soul great white shark does. Hearing this, Line Fuzi turned his head to look at Omo Xiaobei, only to see if the master has any instructions. However, before Xiaobei finished speaking, Gu Yuna pulled Jiang Xiaofeng away. Yes, what you have to do now is to continue to familiarize yourself with the forging before the heavenly forging. You can make perfect use of the thunder tribulation through your domain, but you must practice the steps before that. Only by mastering every detail perfectly can you reach a higher level. Divine Craftsman Zenhua. As the only veteran divine craftsman in the world except Tang Wulin, he is currently the only one who is qualified to guide Tang Wulin in forging. It's not because Tang Wulin is arrogant or something like that, but because his progress in forging is too fast, almost surpassing all the blacksmiths of this era. Only the master craftsman Zenhua can supplement Tang Wulin's forging skills. Okay. Tang Wulin used the forging hammer to continuously hit the Shen iron in front of him, while humbly listening to Zenhua's guidance. He knew that, although he had successfully completed the heavenly forging, it was more based on the blessing of his improved domain. If Zhenhe also had the same domain as himself, his forging level would definitely be improved. For example, suppose the heavenly forging metal forged by Tang Wulin can withstand a 50,000 volt thunder tribulation. Then Tang Wulin's improved domain for the heavenly tribulation can perfectly control it within 50,000 volts. Zhenhe is another case. He can forge a heavenly forging metal that can withstand 100,000 volts. But because he does not have a method like Tang Wulin to perfectly control the thunder tribulation, he always causes the heavenly forging metal to be scrapped. Of course, the domain itself is also part of Tang Wulin's strength. After all, the improved domain was also improved by Tang Wulin through continuous observation of the heavenly tribulation and even using his own body to feel the heavenly tribulation. Why can't the domain created by ability be used for forging? But what Tang Wulin pursued was to make every step of the heavenly forging perfect, so as to break through to a higher level, rather than stopping at what the world calls a godly craftsman. With a heavy knock, the sky, which was already covered with dark clouds, began to rain thunder. The blood-colored armor silently covered Tang Wulin, and a golden halo spread from his feet, dyeing everything around him with a light golden color. The next moment, the terrifying thunder tribulation fell with a bang. But the mighty thunder tribulation disappeared without a trace about 3 meters above Tang Wulin's head. No matter how many times I watch it, I still feel shocked. Looking at everything above his head, Zhenhe couldn't help but sigh. The thunder tribulation seemed to hit an invisible barrier, and then turned into a series of tiny electric currents. Most of them flowed into Tang Wulin's body, to temper Tang Wulin's body, and the remaining part of the current flowed into the metal that was transforming, helping it to officially become the heavenly forging metal. For most people, the thunder tribulation during the heavenly forging would be fatal to the forger. But this was not the case for Tang Wulin. Now Tang Wulin's soul power cultivation has approached the limit of Daoluo, and the Golden Dragon King seal has been unlocked 14 times. On this Daoluo continent, it is difficult for anything to improve his physique again. But the thunder tribulation produced during the heavenly forging is an exception. The power of the thunder tribulation is not only electricity, but also the high quality power of the element and laws of the Daoluo plane. Under their tempering, Tang Wulin's physique can be further improved. According to the Golden Dragon King's estimation, the 15th seal can be unlocked in about half a year. As for the next 3 seals, it is best to wait until the right time. For example, when the cultivation restrictions on the Daoluo continent are lifted, the feedback brought by the higher soul power cultivation will further improve the physique. Of course, if there is any opportunity in the middle, that is another matter. It took nearly half an hour for the thunder tribulation to slowly dissipate, and the Shenayan in front of Tang Wulin continued to flash with colorful halos. Obviously, this piece of Shenayan has become what people often call a divine metal. That is, a heavenly forging metal. Clap, clap, clap. Zhenhe clapped his hands. Not bad, not bad. Someone once said that a person who can forge a divine tool with divine iron is not necessarily a divine craftsman. A person who can forge a divine tool with ordinary iron is a true divine craftsman. Shenayan, it is not a high quality existence among rare metals. In the hands of most people, it is already very good for a single Shenayan to complete soul forging. But in your hands, it not only completes heaven forging, but also continues to make breakthroughs. Shenayan itself has limited bearing capacity, so when it is heavenly forging, Shenayan often exists as an auxiliary material in the alloy. Tang Wulin can be said to be the first person to forge a single Shenayan into heavenly forging metal. Tang Wulin smiled and was about to say something. Suddenly, he turned back sharply. A silver light appeared behind Tang Wulin, and Jiang Xiaofeng and Gu Yuna walked out of it. Jiang Xiaofeng smiled and greeted. "Hi, I was just about to come over to take a look." Gu Yuna said that the elements here are a bit chaotic, and you might be forging. Then we waited for a while, and came over when you stopped. Chapter 216. Hundredfold Thunder Tribulation. Hearing this, Tang Wulin looked at Gu Yuna in surprise and said, "You can sense this? It seems that you have become stronger again." Gu Yuna shook her head slightly. "The silver dragon form cannot be used now, and my combat effectiveness has dropped a lot in the short term. But fortunately Xiaofeng is back, and the reappearance of the creative rider has greatly filled the gap in combat effectiveness." You are lucky. The potential of Kamen Rider Oboro has not been fully developed. Sin Rider can basically be said to have been strengthened to the extreme, and I can only rely on myself to continuously improve the strength of the memory. Tang Wulin said helplessly. The Golden Dragon memory is already the most suitable memory for Tang Wulin, and it is impossible to replace it. The memory enhancement adapter has already strengthened the Golden Dragon memory to the extreme. At this point, it is difficult for Sin Rider to have any qualitative leap, and the only thing left is the accumulation of quantity. Unless there is something special about the Golden Dragon memory itself, and a qualitative leap occurs. Otherwise, the awakening form of Sin Rider will be the final form of Sin Rider. No way. Jiang Xiaofeng shook his head helplessly. It's not that I don't want to upgrade you, but the starting point between you and Gu Yuna is too different. Gu Yuna was originally a Silver Dragon King, and now she has begun to evolve. As for you, although you have completely merged with the power of the Golden Dragon King, but in order to reach the height of the former Golden Dragon King, you need to completely unlock at least 18 seals first. Tang Wulin smiled. It doesn't matter. In a few days, I will try to spiritually forge Pandora alloy. Will you watch by the side? Okay, it won't affect you, right? No. Tang Wulin smiled casually. I will notify you when I'm ready to start. 4 days later, Jiang Xiaofeng, Tang Wulin and Gu Yuna all gathered on a special rooftop. The building where this rooftop is located is 78 stories high. It is the forging platform used by Zhenhe for heavenly forging. According to Zhenhe, heavenly forging requires a lot of power from heaven and earth. If it is in the mortal world, the power of heaven and earth will inevitably be affected by various factors, thereby reducing the success rate of heavenly forging. Therefore, Zhenhe built a forging platform at this location and named it Dingxiante. The entire Dingxiante is made of Xianduan metal. Normally, the forging of any metal can be completed in this place. Unfortunately, it is not a normal situation now. Pandora alloy is ridiculously difficult to forge. Just melting it requires the temperature of a nuclear fusion reaction. Fortunately, Jiang Xiaofeng improved the forging platform, which can limit this terrifying high temperature to the forging platform area. Tang Wulin is getting familiar with the new forging hammer. The Xianduan Shenine hammer he usually uses is easy to use, but it is easy to melt when forging Pandora alloy. Therefore, he needs to use Jiang Xiaofeng's special forging hammer to forge. But the new forging hammer is not easy to use. If you rashly start high difficulty forging, there is a high probability that the forging will fail. Therefore, Tang Wulin plans to complete a few relatively simple forgings to try his hand. For Tang Wulin now, Xianduan has basically mastered it, but it is not suitable for training. As for soul forging, it is not too difficult, nor is it simple, which is just right for training. Soon, several soul forging works came out. Tang Wulin also finished his practice. At this time, on the forging table, there were 3 raw materials for synthesizing Pandora alloy. As long as these 3 metals are fused together in a specific ratio, they can become regular Pandora alloy. Because of some special characteristics of Pandora alloy, Tang Wulin plans to complete the soul forging of the 3 metals separately, and then melt forge to synthesize Pandora alloy. Because once Pandora alloy is synthesized, its melting point will rise sharply. At this time, it is conceivable how difficult it is to soul forge it. Therefore, it is basically impossible to use the original 1000 forged Pandora alloy to complete the soul forging. At this time, Tang Wulin is constantly tapping one of the metal materials with the forging hammer, and in this way he is constantly familiar with the internal structure of the metal. Tang Wulin is definitely the first to try to soul forge Pandora alloy. Only Feng Wuyu, who has completed the 1000 forged Pandora alloy, can provide Tang Wulin with some experience in this regard. For the rest, Tang Wulin can only rely on himself to explore. Moreover, Feng Wuyu could only provide limited experience. After all, Feng Wuyu's forging of them only stopped at the level of 1000 forgings, and then he started to melt forge directly. Tang Wulin had to forge the 3 metals separately first. Just for this step, Feng Wuyu could not provide any experience. Not to mention that, after completing the spiritual forging of the 3 metals, they had to melt forge again. Melting forging at the 1000 forging stage and melting forging at the spirit forging stage are completely two different concepts. It is equivalent to saying that the first one is to melt 3 dead objects together, while the second one is to melt 3 living things together. After a long time, Tang Wulin stopped the forging hammer. But the next moment, the forging hammer began to violently smash the first piece of metal. Obviously, Tang Wulin had ended his trial and officially started his forging. Unlike the cautious forging of ordinary people, Tang Wulin's forging has a violent aesthetic. His forging seemed to not care whether the metal would be destroyed. But this wild forging method was the best in terms of precision. Soon, the first piece of metal was forged 1000 times. But at this point, Tang Wulin stopped. "What's wrong?" Jiang Xiaofeng asked in confusion. Tang Wulin shook his head and explained, "It's okay. Conventional spirit forging requires me to use my mental power and soul power to guide the life inside the metal. For me now, this consumption can basically be ignored. But this metal is too special. Its strength has surpassed that of the heavenly forging metal before forging. I'm worried about some special situation. For example, this process of guiding life directly consumes all my soul power and mental power. In short, I need to try spirit forging in the best condition." After resting for a few minutes, Tang Wulin officially started spirit forging. Through continuous knocking, his own soul power is sent into the metal. With soul power as a bridge, he establishes communication between his own mental power and the metal. Finally, he gradually guides the life in the metal through mental power. This is spirit forging. But unlike what Tang Wulin thought, the whole process went smoothly. Although the consumption during spirit forging is very large, it is within an acceptable range. After all, it's just a single metal, and it's just spiritual forging. Maybe it won't be too difficult for a master craftsman like Tang Wulin to complete it. Jiang Xiaofeng looked at the spiritual forging that was about to be completed and couldn't help but guess. The sky had become overcast without knowing when. The next moment, thunder that was 100 times stronger than the heavenly forging thunder tribulation suddenly struck the metal in front of Tang Wulin. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 217 Forging Failure. The domain instantly expanded, protecting Tang Wulin and the forging table. But the power of the thunder tribulation far exceeded Tang Wulin's expectations. The thunder tribulation was 100 times stronger, not only in its power, but also in its penetration. And all of this was far beyond Tang Wulin's expectations. If it was an ordinary thunder tribulation, even if 100 of them came at the same time, Tang Wulin's domain could at least block 50% of them. But this thunder tribulation, Tang Wulin couldn't even block 10%. The thunder tribulation, which was almost not weakened at all, struck directly on the metal that was about to complete the spirit forging. At this moment, the most important part of the spirit forging process, the summoning of the spirit, was instantly interrupted. The strong backlash that followed was so strong that even Tang Wulin's physique couldn't help but groan. The stronger the metal, the stronger the life born inside it. Similarly, when the summoning process is interrupted, the backlash is naturally strong. The summoning process is very easy to be interrupted. This has nothing to do with the strength of the metal itself, but the act of summoning the spirit itself is extremely unstable. The purpose of this thunder tribulation is not to destroy the metal, but to interrupt the soul summoning process of the soul forging. Once the soul summoning is interrupted, the entire soul forging can be declared a failure. It's amazing. Zhenhe exclaimed, "I've been forging for a lifetime, and I thought Wulin's field was already a miracle. I didn't expect to see such a terrifying thunder tribulation." Gu Yuna said calmly, "It's normal. Pandora alloy is not a metal that should be found in Daolo continent. This forging method is inherently against the will of heaven. Although the meaning of against the will of heaven is a bit exaggerated, it is actually tacitly approved by heaven. But the existence of Pandora alloy has already touched the limit of Daolo continent. Using this against the will forging method to forge metals that are not allowed will of course cause strong rejection from Daolo continent. Tang Wulin sighed slightly, then put down the forging hammer and smiled bitterly. It seems that this spiritual forging has failed. I only thought that spiritual forging would be very difficult, but I didn't expect that spiritual forging would directly bring about a heavenly tribulation. After all, it is one of the raw materials of Pandora alloy. It's normal to be a little special. Jiang Xiaofeng walked over and patted Tang Wulin on the shoulder. I just didn't expect the thunder tribulation to be so terrifying. But then again, when you unlock the next level of the Golden Dragon King seal, the regular heavenly forging thunder tribulation should not have any good body refining effect. But now, hearing this, Tang Wulin's eyes lit up. He had just absorbed the 14th seal some time ago, and now the body refining effect of the heavenly forging thunder tribulation was rapidly declining. Tang Wulin was worrying about how to strengthen his body in the future. Before absorbing the 15th seal, the heavenly forging thunder tribulation was enough for the time being. But if 15 seals were absorbed, then the heavenly forging thunder tribulation alone would definitely not be enough to have a body refining effect. Although Tang Wulin has only unlocked 14 Golden Dragon King seals now, because the power of the Golden Dragon King is completely integrated with him, his physical fitness is now stronger than when he absorbed the 15th seal in the original timeline. Theoretically, Tang Wulin is now strong enough to absorb the 15th seal. But according to the Golden Dragon King's theory, it is best to wait until his physical fitness reaches a high level before absorbing the seal, so that the upper limit can be raised to the maximum. Because of the existence of the remnant soul of the Golden Dragon King, the remaining seals will naturally not be released automatically at a certain time. In this case, of course, the more solid the foundation is, the better. But having said that, there is still a long way to go to complete the spiritual forging of Pandora alloy. After a brief excitement, Tang Wulin calmed down again. Pandora alloy needs to be synthesized from 3 metals. If you want to complete the spiritual forging of Pandora alloy, you need to spiritually forge the 3 metals separately. After that, you have to melt and forge these 3 spiritual forging metals again, and the entire Pandora alloy is considered complete. Now that we have just reached the first step, we have encountered such a troublesome problem. No one can say what difficulties we will encounter in the future. It doesn't matter. The current night system is enough. Jiang Xiaofeng smiled. You can practice while trying the Pandora alloy. Okay. Tang Wulin smiled. Speaking of which, I see that your body has almost recovered. Do you want to find a place to get together? Invite Zizi and others to join us? Jiang Xiaofeng nodded and smiled. Okay. As he said that, Tang Wulin took out his mobile phone and called Zizi and others one by one. Jiang Xiaofeng only heard a voice like "Hey, rare guest," coming from Tang Wulin's phone. After a while, Tang Wulin put down the phone and said, "They are still in Shrek City, which is a little far from us. If they go on their own, they will arrive at the earliest tomorrow morning. Gu Yuna, thank you for your trouble." Gu Yuna nodded slightly and then turned into silver light and disappeared. After a while, the silver light flashed again in front of Jiang Xiaofeng and others. When the light disappeared, Gu Yuna appeared in front of them with 7 people. "Sister Gu Yu, your trick is really convenient," Zizi said enviously. "I also play with space. Why can't I do it like you? Swoosh swoosh, running all over the Daolo star. He is the Silver Dragon King. Even if your martial soul has evolved, it is only the dragon of time and space. How can it be the same?" Zhu Xiaoan said disdainfully. "Damn, my dragon of time and space is inferior? Your star wheel is not as good as others?" And asterisk *@ Wu Sido sighed helplessly. This is their unique way of love. I can only say that these 2 people are a little different. Daijuna nodded in approval. "Speaking of which, how is your body recovering?" Zulizhi looked at Jiang Xiaofeng in surprise. "The last time I saw you, I remember you could only stay in that genius energy bottle." Jiang Xiaofeng stretched his body, just like what you see. Now it is basically no different from a normal body. It's no problem to live like a normal person. It's not easy, Zulizhi said with emotion. Yi Xinglan nodded and said, "Yes, I really thought you died there at that time. I spent so much time and made such a perfect plan, but I couldn't see the day when my plan was actually launched." Speaking of this, Yi Xinglan smiled again, but fortunately, after almost 6 years, you are alive again. Although there is still a terrible threat later, I heard that you already have a countermeasure. Jiang Xiaofeng nodded and said, well, although it is a bit difficult to achieve, there is hope overall. Okay, let's not talk about this for now. I just booked a private room in a hotel. Let's reminisce about the past there. Tang Wulin smiled. Teacher, do you want to join? Zhenhe shook his head slightly. I, an old bone, won't get involved in your young people's gathering. Chapter 218 Party. It's okay. Zizi said nonchalantly. Look, Sister Guyu, she doesn't say she's old, even though she's millions of years old. You. Ouch. At this moment, Zizi's head had been deeply inserted into the floor. Everyone couldn't help laughing. Seeing Zizi struggling to pull his head out of the floor, Zhu Xiaoan couldn't help but laugh. You deserve it. Who told you to mess with Sister Guyu? Everyone left the terrace and walked towards the hotel Tang Wulin had booked. Zhenhe stared at the sunken floor made of Xianduan metal and fell into deep thought. The floors here are all made of Xianduan metal. How did she hit the kid's head into the floor without breaking his head? At this time, Zizi still didn't know that he had walked through the gates of hell. The group soon came to the private room Tang Wulin had booked. This is the largest hotel in Mingdu, and the private room inside is also the best private room in this hotel. Normally, if you want to book a private room in this hotel, you need to book it a long time in advance. But Tang Wulin's status is different, not to mention that Tang Wulin is now a national idol. The title of the leader of the Sea God Pavilion and the leader of the Tang sect alone is enough to give him higher privileges. What's more, Tang Wulin is now a new generation of divine craftsmen, and his status and position are even higher. It's just that Tang Wulin rarely uses these privileges, and the most common place he uses them is to save queues when there are many people. Come on, drink. Zizi picked up a glass of beer and greeted. Jiang Xiaofeng shook his head quickly. Forget it, I don't drink. I'd better drink some juice or something. Well, I'll have some spleen. He was about to say something, but was glared back by Yi Xinglan. He had to say angrily, forget it, I'd better have some juice. I'll have some. Yuan Enyahu took the beer bottle and poured himself some, then put down the bottle and asked, does anyone else want it? Give me some. Give me some too. Zhu Xiaoan and Wu Sido also picked up the bottle and poured themselves a bottle of beer. The rest of the people chose juice and other drinks. Speaking of which, what is the principle of your resurrection? Zizi asked curiously while drinking. Someone told me roughly about it before, but I didn't understand it. Jiang Xiaofeng shook his head helplessly. There is no complicated principle. It is nothing more than relying on the characteristics of the data body to keep the breath, and then absorbing energy to revive. How about your battle armor? During the time I was away, who did you ask to design the upgrade of your battle armor? Before Jiang Xiaofeng was offline, their battle armor had just been upgraded from 1-word battle armor to 2-word battle armor. Because at that time, Gu Yuna, who had the highest cultivation, had just reached the Soul Saint level not long ago, and Tang Wulin, who had a slightly lower cultivation, was only at the Soul Emperor level. As for the others, Yuan Enyahu, who had the highest cultivation, was only at the Soul King level. Soul King level cultivation is normally the minimum requirement for wearing 1-word battle armor. It was not easy for Jiang Xiaofeng to make a complete set of 2-word battle armor for them. As for the 3-word battle armor, they couldn't wear it, even if it was designed. It's basically the same as before. Yi Xinglan replied, Tang Wulin is responsible for forging, and I'm responsible for production. However, the person responsible for the battle armor design has become Gu Yuna. At this point, Yi Xinglan scratched the back of his head in embarrassment. Sorry, it's still a bit difficult to change. Gu Yuna smiled indifferently. It doesn't matter, call me whatever you are used to, but the battle armor I designed can't be compared with Xiaofeng's for the time being. If he designs it, your battle armor should be able to reach a high level. Excessive modesty is equal to pride. Zhu Xiaoan said with a smile. Captain, this is super standard, there is no comparison. Jiang Xiaofeng also smiled. I have seen the battle armor you designed. Among all the 4 character battle armor designers, you are definitely the best. Even the captain said it's good. It must be really good. Zulis, he raised a thumbs up, indicating that he would look forward to me more. Soon, the waiters began to serve the dishes one after another. Because everyone present was familiar with each other, there were not so many rules between each other. They could do whatever they wanted, and no one would care. Many things that are considered extremely disrespectful by the upper class happen here every moment. By the way, have you visited your aunt? Tang Wulin asked curiously. I saw that she was very happy some time ago. She must have known that you were still alive. Jiang Xiaofeng nodded. Of course I did. I went there secretly some time ago, but I didn't announce it to the public. At first, I was afraid that this would make my mother worry, so I didn't go. I just told her indirectly that I was still alive. Later, my body was reshaped, and I had body temperature and entity, so I naturally had to go back to see her. After all, in my current state, it is basically the same as a complete resurrection, but I can't transform independently yet. No wonder your aunt was so happy some time ago. It turns out that you went to see her secretly. Tang Wulin suddenly realized, okay, you didn't even tell me. The main thing now is to maintain Gu Yuna's prestige. Jiang Xiaofeng explained. In terms of politics, Gu Yuna is doing a good job now. My reputation is too high. Suddenly showing up may have an impact on her layout. That makes sense. Daejuna interrupted. I used to watch my father handle government affairs, and I have some understanding of these. Now is a special period, and the Federation can only have one voice. Oh, it's okay. One more. Zizi was about to say something when he felt dizzy. His head was stuck in the floor again. Jiang Xiaofeng's mouth twitched. What a hardcore way to resist drinking. P.S. Please vote for the monthly ticket in the recommendation ticket. Chapter 219 Pandora's Box opened. A long-awaited reunion ended in a noisy atmosphere. I really envy you. The voice of the Golden Dragon King sounded in Tang Wulin's mind. You have your own body. You can eat and sleep. Tang Wulin smiled. It's okay. When my cultivation level is further improved, I can help you rebuild a body. Although it may not be comparable to your original body. After all, yours is a complete Golden Dragon King body, which is basically impossible to replicate. But, we can settle for the second best. At least it should be no problem to accommodate your soul. Really? The Golden Dragon King said in disbelief. Really? When you have a body, what do you want to do? Hearing Tang Wulin say this, the Golden Dragon King was no longer sleepy. Then I will definitely have a big meal. I think the barbecue in your era is pretty good. When I have a body and can eat, just give me 100 tons of barbecue. Okay, then we will have barbecue together. The intense project is still going on, and the mechanical island that has completed the launch is stepping up to improve various equipment. Jiang Xiaofeng named this mechanical island Xiansun, which means a barrier in the sky. Gu Yuna complained about this, and she felt that Jiang Xiaofeng was simply too lazy to name it. But in the end, the name was decided. After all, it was just a name. Even if Jiang Xiaofeng named this mechanical island Gaodan, no one would really say anything. Because he was worried that the energy released when Pandora's box was opened would be too large, and Xiansun would not have enough power to fight it. For this reason, Jiang Xiaofeng also designed a new power system. The original power system obtained energy through nuclear fusion. Although it is nuclear fusion, it still belongs to the category of nuclear. But according to Jiang Xiaofeng's estimation, the energy in Pandora's box is definitely beyond the nuclear level. To be on the safe side, the new power system developed by Jiang Xiaofeng no longer uses nuclear fusion. Instead, it is driven by the powerful energy generated by the collision of protons and interprotons. That is what people usually call antimatter power. Once antimatter and positive matter meet, an unprecedented annihilation reaction will occur, which can almost be said to convert all mass into energy. Therefore, the utilization rate of mass by the annihilation of matter and antimatter is almost 100%. To give a more specific example, the energy generated by the collision of 1 gram of matter and 1 gram of antimatter is enough to be equivalent to the energy released by the explosion of 3.3 Hiroshima atomic bombs. Antimatter energy can basically be said to be the highest level of energy that can be found in the macroscopic material world. If you want to find a higher level of energy, you can only try to find it in the microscopic quantum field. That is the so-called quantum mechanics when in doubt. Not only that, because when resisting the energy impact of Pandora's box, the sky barrier itself needs to withstand terrifying pressure. Therefore, the important parts of the sky barrier are almost all made of Pandora alloy. In short, the configuration of this sky barrier can be said to be extremely luxurious. And the device used to guide Pandora's tower, to restrain its own energy, will also need to be released from the sky barrier at that time. After all, when Pandora's tower appears, it will almost destroy all buildings on the ground. Having said that, the actual time required for the sky barrier to rise is no more than 30 seconds. And just for this less than 30 seconds, the cost invested is more than 100 billion. Half a year passed in a flash. Tang Wulin also unlocked his 15th Golden Dragon King seal, and his cultivation reached the level of ultimate Daoluo demigod. Gu Yuna's cultivation was temporarily stagnant at the level of ultimate Daoluo quasi-god. Before the transformation, Gu Yuna could easily suppress Tang Wulin, but the situation was reversed after the transformation. Because Tang Wulin now has a strengthening adapter that can strengthen the memory more than 3 times. Tang Wulin can transform into the awakening form of the Sin Rider. Gu Yuna's original strongest Silver Dragon form is now in the title stage, and only the initial Silver Dragon form can be used. As for Jiang Xiaofeng, his body was finally completely repaired before the completion of the sky barrier. Theoretically, the Genius Energy Bottle can be used. Unfortunately, the completely resurrected Jiang Xiaofeng couldn't even touch the Genius Energy Bottle. Because just a few days before Jiang Xiaofeng was resurrected, the Genius Energy Bottle was restored to the Pandora metal panel by him. After several days of final inspections, the strengthening plan for the Daoluo plane has finally reached the most important step, the opening of Pandora's box. The position calibration of the sky barrier is complete. You can start at any time. Jiang Xiaofeng, who transformed into a double rabbit form, walked slowly to the bottom of the sky barrier, where there was a stone platform with Pandora's box. This stone platform is not a simple stone platform. It will continuously release dark wave signals to facilitate the position calibration of the sky barrier. In order to further increase the success rate, the sky barrier will use its center to welcome the energy impact. Although this will not increase the success rate too much, the opening of Pandora's box is extraordinary. Even if you invest more money, as long as you can really increase the success rate, no matter how much it increases, it is worth it. In order to ensure the safety of the whole process, the most powerful people on the Daoluo continent gathered here, including Tang Wulin, Gu Yuna. Jiang Xiaofeng turned his head and shouted to Gu Yuna, then spread out his right hand. Gu Yuna understood, then took out a dragon energy bottle and threw it to Jiang Xiaofeng. The dragon energy bottle, which had already tended to be light blue in color, turned back to the normal blue the moment it left Gu Yuna. Jiang Xiaofeng took a deep breath after catching the energy bottle and nodded towards the sky. This meant that Jiang Xiaofeng was about to officially open Pandora's box, and everyone needed to be ready. Jiang Xiaofeng first took out a dark green metal panel, which was the metal panel that had been transformed into the Genius Energy Bottle. Rabbit and Tank, the 2 energy bottles were picked up by Jiang Xiaofeng one by one, and inserted into the slots of the metal panel one by one. The next moment, the icon in the center of the Pandora metal panel lit up, R/T. This means that the energy bottles inserted at both ends are a set of optimal matches. There are 10 slots on a metal panel, and Jiang Xiaofeng needs to insert 4 more sets of optimal matches. Dragon, Lock, Eagle, Gatling, Panda, Rocket, Ninja, Comic. The metal panel with 5 sets of optimal matches inserted began to emit green light, and Jiang Xiaofeng gently released the hand holding the metal panel. The metal panel that was out of control began to float up by itself, and then gently buckled into Pandora's box. P.S. Please give me monthly tickets and recommendation tickets. Chapter 220 Pandora's Tower. A thin blood red beam of light shot up into the sky. This seemingly thin beam of light made the sky barrier in the sky begin to tremble violently. It seemed that the red beam of light would penetrate it directly in the next moment. Fortunately, the concave surface below the sky barrier used to face the impact directly would spread the energy impact as much as possible, so that it would not be directly penetrated. The thrusters on the top of the sky barrier were already operating at full power, fighting against the terrifying energy released from Pandora's box. But even so, the sky barrier still had a tendency to retreat. At the same time, a strong red light began to appear on the ground centered on Pandora's box. A huge stone wall with strange patterns carved on it rose from the ground out of thin air and began to spread with the location of Pandora's box as the center of the circle. In the process, all objects blocking the stone wall were instantly destroyed. The first floor of Pandora's tower appears, and the transformation device begins to be deployed. The hatch at the bottom of the sky barrier suddenly opened. These hatches were not just one, but surrounded the bottom of the sky barrier. From a distance, it seemed as if a black circle suddenly appeared at the bottom of the sky barrier. In the next moment, a huge metal ring was released from the open hatch and fell to the Pandora's tower below in a free fall. After completing all this, the hatch closed. The whole process actually took less than 5 seconds. But in these 5 seconds, a large number of devices inside the sky barrier were destroyed. The bottom hatch was opened, which meant that the impact surface originally completed at the bottom was destroyed. This resulted in the inability to evenly distribute the energy impact at the bottom, and a large number of internal facilities were destroyed. But it didn't matter anymore. The mission of the sky barrier was basically completed. As soon as the metal ring fell to the ground, it quickly merged into the wall of Pandora's tower like liquid. The walls of Pandora's tower also began to show some strange changes. The top of Pandora's tower, which was originally relatively flat, began to deform continuously, and the blood red light column seemed to encounter some invisible obstacles. The light column that was originally soaring into the sky was instantly blocked at the top of the first floor of Pandora's tower. Not only that, some of the energy that was originally blocked by the sky barrier began to be absorbed by it. At this point, the mission of Xianxin was completely completed. The machine, which took a year to build with the efforts of the whole country, took no more than 30 seconds from start to finish. But now, it was all worth it. Jiang Xiaofeng took out the second metal plate again and inserted 10 energy bottles into the slots of the metal plate. Hedgehog, fire truck, pirate, train, lion, vacuum cleaner, gorilla, diamond, octopus, light bulb. With the insertion of the 5 best matches, the second metal plate also began to emit green light and embedded itself into Pandora's box. The blood red light column instantly became thicker. The walls in the first floor of Pandora's tower began to reorganize rapidly and slowly rose, forming a circle with a smaller diameter than the first floor, but a higher height. Pandora's tower, second floor. At the same time, the height of the light column began to rise, from the original height of only 1 floor to the height of 2 floors. At the top of the second floor of Pandora's tower, a tiny red energy ball began to gradually take shape. This energy ball looks small, but it contains terrifying energy. Once the energy inside bursts out, it will definitely not be a problem to penetrate Daolo Star. Because the energy around is enough to cause life-threatening, the night system also frantically sounded alarms. But Jiang Xiaofeng ignored all these alarms and picked up the third metal plate again. Tiger, UFO, whale, jet, deer, pyramid, giraffe, electric fan, penguin, skateboard. With the embedding of the third metal plate, Pandora's tower began to rise again, and the third floor of Pandora's tower was born. At the same time, a storm that was enough to tear reinforced concrete buildings into pieces began to surround Pandora's tower, and purple lightning continued to explode around Pandora's tower. If you look from a distance, it's like a world-destroying disaster. Abyss Plane. Huh? What happened in Daolo Plane? The Abyss Saint opened his eyes and said to himself in confusion. Just now, he felt that the terrifying energy on Daolo continent had erupted again. Once this energy erupts, whether it is the Abyss or Daolo continent, it will be torn apart in an instant. The Abyss Saint, who had absorbed many dark thunderstorm energies, now had acquired some of the characteristics of nothingness. This allowed the Abyss Saint to ignore the obstruction and suppression of the planes and go to other planes at will. In other words, it could have directly entered the Daolo plane long ago, and it hardly needed to be suppressed too much. because the Daoluo continent once had the God Realm, and in recent times, the Abyss Saint once again felt the power of the God King level. Therefore, the Abyss Saint decided to stay for a while, and wait until he broke through the God King level before going there. But now, huge energies have emerged in Daoluo continent one after another. The Abyss Saint felt that he had to go over to see what was going on. If he got out of control, it would be bad. Let's go over quietly first. With my current characteristics, even if there is really a God King there, as long as his attention is not on me, it will be difficult for him to find me. Thinking of this, the Abyss Saint slowly stood up and easily passed through the barrier between the Daoluo plane and the Abyss plane. And during this whole process, the blood god array used to block the Abyss plane showed no signs of being triggered. Another metal plate was inserted into Pandora's box, and a large piece of stone wall floated up by itself, forming another layer of Pandora's tower. At this time, there was only one metal panel left in Pandora's box, and only 10 energy bottles were left. Although Pandora's tower was only 5 stories high at this time, these 5 stories were enough to make it soar into the sky. The operators and the sky barrier had long been transferred away by Gu Yuna, and the machine body, that was already on the verge of being scrapped, was also destroyed by Pandora's tower. But now, no one would care about the sky barrier, and their eyes were all attracted by the tower in front of them. With the insertion of the last metal plate, the energy ball on the top of Pandora's tower also reached its peak. The stone wall constructed the last layer of Pandora's tower, and the platform where Jiang Xiaofeng stood was also lifted to the top. At the top of this Pandora's tower, there was a huge red energy ball floating. It constantly absorbed the overflowing energy, causing the storm around Pandora's tower to gradually stop. All the energy bottles on Pandora's box disappeared instantly and fell gently to the ground. At this time, the appearance of Pandora's box had changed dramatically. It became a hollow cube, made up of 6 panels. Chapter 221, Abyss Saint. At this time, Jiang Xiaofeng could feel that he should be able to take out something from it. For example, black hole trigger. But Jiang Xiaofeng didn't have it, although theoretically, only Ebold could use the black hole trigger. But it's better to have less trouble than more trouble. Instead of taking out the black hole trigger and worrying about this and that, it's better not to take it out. Thinking of this, Jiang Xiaofeng took out the dangerous trigger instead. As long as the dangerous trigger is put into the Pandora's box, the white Pandora metal plate can be refined. Suddenly, Jiang Xiaofeng seemed to feel something, and he rolled on the spot, and then took out the driver, and buckled it around his waist. And on the ground, where he was just standing, a deep scratch appeared, as if it was cut directly by something sharp. Who is it? Jiang Xiaofeng shouted. Gu Yuna, who was floating in the distance, looked condensed, and then all her mental power was covered in front of Jiang Xiaofeng, and then she discovered the abnormality in front of Jiang Xiaofeng. But Gu Yuna's behavior was no longer necessary, and the person in front of Jiang Xiaofeng had already revealed his appearance. It is not quite accurate to call it a human. The existence that appeared in front of Jiang Xiaofeng can only be described as a humanoid creature. In Gu Yuna's perception, it looks similar to humans. But in fact, it has nothing to do with humans. Apart from other things, this unknown creature, that looks like a human, has pure black eyes. It was dressed in a black robe, with a huge black cloak on its shoulders, and holding a blue-purple Fangshan Huaji. The Fangshan Huaji weapon made Jiang Xiaofeng think of 2 people. One was a famous filial son in the Three Kingdoms era. Filial son Lubu, Fangshan Huaji, specializes in chopping his adoptive father. Ahem, I'm getting off topic. This thing can't come to Daoluo continent. The other one is the big boss of the original Daosin worldview, Abyss Saint. Jiang Xiaofeng didn't know the specific appearance of the Abyss Saint, but only knew that he was holding a weapon similar to the Fangshan Huaji. The specific name is Xian Shenglian, which is a super artifact of the same level as the Sea God Trident. But the ability setting is very confusing. It is said that it can cut through all defenses, but the limitation is that it can only be used in close combat. This setting gives people the feeling that the Abyss Saint is invincible in close combat at the same level. But in fact, Tang Wulin, who is not as good as him, once fought with the Abyss Saint for a long time, but he was not killed by a single blow. He chopped the sea god trident, but the sea god trident was not cut off by it. Therefore, Jiang Xiaofeng can only understand it as extremely sharp, and the 4-character battle armor can never block it. Then the attack is very penetrating. Even if you use a weapon to block it, you will suffer certain damage. But no matter who the opponent is, you can appear behind you silently, and it is right to transform first. Maximum hazard on seeing that the opponent is slashing again with a halberd. Jiang Xiaofeng dodged again with his physical fitness of danger level 6.2 and took out the rabbit tank phoenix energy bottle. Rabbit and rabbit, are you ready? Are you ready? Henshin at the same time. Tang Wulin also took out his own golden dragon driver and heard the voice of the golden dragon king in his ears. Be careful, although you are much stronger now, I can't see through the enemy this time. It should not be much weaker than the enemy 7 years ago. I know. Henshin Guyuna just took out the driver, but she seemed to suddenly think of something, and her movements froze. Guyuna suddenly remembered that her energy bottle had just been handed over to Jiang Xiaofeng not long ago. And now, Guyuna looked at the 60 empty energy bottles inserted in Pandora's box. When Pandora's box was opened, the components of all energy bottles disappeared. And these disappeared energy bottles naturally included the dragon energy bottle. Guyuna, who lost the dragon energy bottle, naturally lost the ability to transform. Overflow mode, pure red swift jump rabbit, double rabbit form, super dangerous, super fast. The double rabbit armor with the dangerous rabbit tank form as the base body and the rabbit form was instantly put on, and the full energy bottle destroyer also appeared in Jiang Xiaofeng's hand. Awakening form, the blood colored armor was instantly fully put on Tang Wulin, and Tang Wulin, who transformed into the awakening form of the Sin Knight, jumped to Jiang Xiaofeng's side. Who are you? Tang Wulin shouted sternly, holding the golden dragon spear. The humanoid creature holding the painted halberd looked at Jiang Xiaofeng with interest. It turned out to be you? And compared to the previous fight between you and me, you seem to have become much stronger now? Jiang Xiaofeng waved his hand lightly, and the Pandora's box instantly flew into his hand. After putting away Pandora's box, Jiang Xiaofeng secretly breathed a sigh of relief, then frowned and said, "Are you the Saint Lord of the Abyss?" Hearing Jiang Xiaofeng directly say his name, the Saint Lord of the Abyss was a little surprised. "You knew me before." That shouldn't be the case. After confirming that his opponent was the Saint Lord of the Abyss, Jiang Xiaofeng calmed down a little, but then fell into a deeper state of alert. As far as Jiang Xiaofeng knew, the Saint Lord of the Abyss should not have the ability to come directly to the Daoluo plane. Jiang Xiaofeng didn't know how the original novel came here, but it was definitely not as easy as it is now. In other words, the battle information about the Saint Lord of the Abyss obtained from the original novel may not be applicable to the current Saint Lord of the Abyss. I remember there seemed to be a girl before, and she fought against me with you at that time. The Saint Lord of the Abyss said quite leisurely. Why? Is she not here? At this time, Guyuna had consciously retreated to a distance and hid. She had temporarily lost her ability to transform, and staying here would only be a burden. But if she left the war directly, Guyuna would be a little unwilling. Therefore, she chose to hide at the edge of the battlefield to see if she could use her ability to win by surprise at the critical moment. Jiang Xiaofeng's heart could not help but become solemn. All 60 energy bottles were sealed, which would lead to a significant decline in the comprehensive combat capability of the Chuanqi. The original Chuanqi, even in this form of single attribute energy bottles, could use a variety of attribute attacks through the full energy bottle destroyer. But now, the energy bottles that can be used, in addition to those already inserted in the drive, are only the rabbit tank, the phoenix bubble can, the card, and the camera energy bottle. If the Abyss Saint came a few days later, Jiang Xiaofeng could remake the genius energy bottle and directly cut him. Or if he came earlier, Jiang Xiaofeng would not be completely weak with his complex and diverse attacks. But it happened that the Abyss Saint came at this time, which instantly made Jiang Xiaofeng's situation extremely embarrassing. Chapter 222 Confrontation. Depend on us. We are enough to take care of you. Jiang Xiaofeng replied coldly, and then subconsciously looked at the operation panel of the night system. But it was this subconscious action that brought Jiang Xiaofeng the only good news now. The data of the night system has increased a lot. The danger level is still 6.2. Looking at the sharply soaring data, Jiang Xiaofeng suddenly realized, when he used the double rabbit form when possessing Gu Yuna before, although he could still transform successfully, it was not his body after all, and he could not exert the true power of the danger level 6.2. Between the danger level 5.9 and 6.0, there is a leap forward. Below 5.9, it is the normal level that the human body can withstand. Only the danger level 6.0 can be regarded as a real breakthrough of the human body. Only when the danger level reaches above 6.0 can the genius energy bottle be used. What's more, Jiang Xiaofeng's current danger level is not only 6.0, but 6.2. The higher the danger level, the higher the difficulty and the greater the span of strength. In short, Jiang Xiaofeng now has the combat power to rival a second level god, which is one of the few good news. The Abyss Saint leaned over to pick up Pandora's box, but Pandora's box suddenly flew into Jiang Xiaofeng's hands and disappeared behind him. I see, no wonder the little girl who fought with you against me before didn't show up. The Abyss Saint stood up and clapped his hands. You want to use that strange armor, you should need that little bottle, right? But now, your little bottles seem to have lost their function. Then I guess she shouldn't be able to use those strange armors. Tang Wulin held the golden dragon spear horizontally. Although she is not here, have you forgotten me? So, you are all a huge threat to the Abyss plane. The Abyss Saint slowly picked up the Heavenly Saint Rift halberd before the devouring Dalwo plane. You must die. As soon as the voice fell, the Abyss Saint instantly appeared in front of Jiang Xiaofeng, waving the Heavenly Saint Rift in his hand to cut Jiang Xiaofeng. Although he didn't know what the characteristics of the Heavenly Saint Rift were, at this moment, Jiang Xiaofeng didn't dare to try. A strange squeezing force forced Jiang Xiaofeng to stay in place, but the acceleration scarf on the back of the double rabbit form instantly burst out with powerful force, allowing Jiang Xiaofeng to escape from it. Be careful, try not to fight with it in close combat. While dodging, Jiang Xiaofeng shouted loudly to Tang Wulin. The Abyss Saint looked at Jiang Xiaofeng in surprise. It seems that you really knew me before, and even knew something about my abilities. Camera card just matched Isu. The magenta energy instantly gathered at the muzzle. Before that, a golden dragon had already flown towards the Abyss Saint. Golden Dragon maximum drive. The Abyss Saint split the golden dragon with a halberd, and the magenta energy cannon followed closely. Just match break this kind of power the Abyss Saint has seen before. Although his strength is much stronger than Jiang Xiaofeng, he dare not be arrogant. He knew that this kind of power was the power that could truly destroy the core of the plane. The power of space was being called upon by him. Since he didn't want to take this attack head on, he could just dodge it. He only needed to call upon the power of space to allow himself to leave here directly. Although Jiang Xiaofeng's attack had a certain locking ability, it was not enough to trap the Abyss Saint who was approaching the God King. Suddenly, the Abyss Saint felt that the space around him solidified. But it was this moment of solidification that prevented the Abyss Saint from moving his position before the attack arrived. In the distance of the battlefield, Gu Yuna staggered, and her face turned a little pale. Using the power of a level 99 extreme download to interfere with the space transmission approaching the God King level strongman. Even if Gu Yuna was the Silver Dragon King, it was too much of a stretch. But fortunately, Gu Yuna succeeded. First, Tang Wulin's attack distracted the Abyss Saint to a certain extent, even if it was only for a moment. And the easy dispersal of Tang Wulin's attack also made the Abyss Saint feel a little proud. Compared to defeating Jiang Xiaofeng directly, the Abyss Saint King preferred to show his strength first. He wanted to deal with Jiang Xiaofeng's attack in a more understated way. Gu Yuna interfered with the Abyss Saint King's space transmission at the critical moment, and it was too late for him to change his tactics temporarily. The magenta energy cannon bombarded the Abyss Saint King, and the Abyss Saint King had only time to use the Heavenly Saint Rift to try to resist. With a huge explosion, the Abyss Saint King hit the wall of Pandora's tower heavily, but the wall did not have a crack. Not dead? Tang Wulin asked. Jiang Xiaofeng shook his head while alerting the surroundings. It should not be dead. At most it caused some injuries. The Abyss Saint King leaned against the wall and coughed heavily a few times, then looked at Gu Yuna in the distance with a face full of resentment. It used its space ability again, trying to deal with Gu Yuna first. Gu Yuna, who realized that something was wrong, immediately activated her space power and tried to move out of the battlefield. But at this moment, the surrounding space was forcibly imprisoned by the Abyss Saint. The reason why it is called forcible is that the Abyss Saint's control over space is actually not as good as Gu Yuna's. But it used a method similar to the miracle of great strength to forcibly seal Gu Yuna's movements. Not only Gu Yuna, but also Tang Wulin and Jiang Xiaofeng's movements were affected to a certain extent, but Jiang Xiaofeng was obviously much less affected. When the Abyss Saint sealed the space, he actually sealed his own spatial movement ability. In this case, if it wants to come to Gu Yuna, it can only rely on the high speed brought by its cultivation. And in fact, the Abyss Saint did just that. Holding the Heavenly Saint drifting halberd, it came to Gu Yuna's side almost instantly. Without any extra words, the Abyss Saint directly stabbed Gu Yuna with the Heavenly Saint drifting halberd. But this must-win attack was directly knocked away by a phoenix. In theory, the speed of a second level god should not be comparable to that of someone close to the level of a god king. But in fact, Jiang Xiaofeng, whose danger level reached 6.2, has a speed in the double rabbit form that can be on par with the Abyss Saint. That's why Jiang Xiaofeng's fighting power is about equal to that of a level 2 god. It was also because of the speed of the double rabbit form that Jiang Xiaofeng was able to reach Gu Yuna at the same time as the Abyss Saint. But the attack power of the Heavenly Saint drifting halberd was ultimately Jiang Xiaofeng's biggest concern. No matter how powerful it was, it at least had a setting that ignored all defenses. Therefore, the method Jiang Xiaofeng thought of was to use invincibility to fight it. Phoenix and Phoenix, Phoenix and Phoenix, Crimson Immortal Firebender Phoenix Phoenix, double Phoenix form, ready go, ready, up, Phoenix Phoenix finish, double Phoenix end. The huge flaming Phoenix rushed towards the halberd blade of the Heavenly Saint drifting halberd. And the indestructible Heavenly Saint drifting halberd finally encountered something it couldn't unfold. In the astonished eyes of the Abyss Saint, the Heavenly Saint drifting halberd was blocked by the halberd blade for the first time. After a brief moment of astonishment, the Abyss Saint raised the Heavenly Saint drifting halberd again and slashed at Jiang Xiaofeng. The flame phoenix that Jiang Xiaofeng transformed into also rushed towards the Abyss Saint King like a moth to a flame. Jiang Xiaofeng, who was at a danger level of 6.2, seemed to be able to maintain the state of launching the ultimate move for a long time. Therefore, Jiang Xiaofeng could maintain the state of the Flame Phoenix and fight against the Abyss Saint King again and again. Chapter 223 Unwilling. Tang Wulin looked at Jiang Xiaofeng who was in a stalemate with the Abyss Saint, and then looked at Gu Yuna who was unable to move. Then he gritted his teeth, turned into a golden stream of light, and rushed to the battlefield in an instant. Jiang Xiaofeng was still fighting with the Abyss Saint, and he was unable to split himself. And Gu Yuna was now unable to even leave a battlefield because of the huge gap in cultivation. Now, only he had the opportunity to take Gu Yuna out of the battlefield. Seeing Tang Wulin approaching, the Abyss Saint used the Heavenly Saint Rift to hit the Fire Phoenix that Jiang Xiaofeng had transformed into. Although the Phoenix energy bottle can make Jiang Xiaofeng immune to all damage, it cannot be immune to the inertia brought by kinetic energy. Even if Jiang Xiaofeng tried his best to control his body, he still hit the wall of Pandora's tower hard. At the same time, the golden stream of light had already rushed in front of Gu Yuna. Without the slightest hesitation, the Abyss Saint directly slashed the Heavenly Saint Rift towards the golden light. The golden light transformed by Tang Wulin instantly fell to the ground, and a deep dent appeared on the ground. However, even so, Tang Wulin successfully brought Gu Yuna away from the presence of the Abyss Saint. Although Gu Yuna was still on the battlefield, Tang Wulin knew that she was temporarily safe. Because Tang Wulin was not fighting alone. Just as the Abyss Saint was about to chase, the huge Fire Phoenix appeared in front of it again, and stopped it abruptly. After all, Jiang Xiaofeng was simply unable to be immune to inertia. The attack of the Abyss Saint just now seemed powerful, but in fact it did not cause any damage. Seeing that the Abyss Saint was temporarily dragged, Tang Wulin did not hesitate, but immediately took out the smoke gun, aimed at Gu Yuna, and pulled the trigger. A puff of smoke instantly enveloped Gu Yuna, and her figure dissipated in the smoke. After completing all this, Tang Wulin coughed heavily a few times and slowly stood up. And on his back, there was a blood mark. After all, Tang Wulin's armor is a little different, somewhat similar to Kyuga's biological armor. In other words, it is a combination of biological armor and machinery. Fortunately, the Knight system is very different from pure exoskeleton armor. Otherwise, Tang Wulin should be seriously injured now. After all, Tang Wulin's body cultivation is only level 99, which is too far from the Abyss Saint King, who is infinitely close to the God King. Even if it is just a slight injury, the power close to the God King level is enough to take half of Tang Wulin's life. In fact, no matter what type of Knight system, it will make the user evolve in all directions before transformation. In short, after the transformation, Tang Wulin's life level has reached the level of the 3rd level god. But if Tang Wulin cancels the transformation now, his life level will return to the level of the ultimate Daoluo. The near God King level power remaining in the wound will directly make Tang Wulin lose his combat effectiveness. This is why, after Chicky was poisoned, his behavior of cancelling the transformation was stopped by Mr. Belt. Even the body of Kamen Rider founder cannot bear the poison. Once the transformation is lifted, this poison will kill Tomashinosuke instantly. You can't maintain your invincibility forever. I think maintaining this state will consume a lot of your energy, the Abyss Saint said leisurely, and, if I'm not mistaken, the invincibility ability can only exist in this form. And in this form, you have lost the speed just now. The flame slowly dissipated, revealing a blazing red armor. That is the twin phoenix form of Kamen Rider founder. Jiang Xiaofeng floated quietly in front of the Abyss Saint and said calmly, even if my speed is not as good as yours, as long as I can still use the invincibility ability, you still can't do anything to me. It must be admitted that the Abyss Saint guessed correctly. Maintaining the ultimate killing state for a long time consumes a lot of physical strength. And the reason why Jiang Xiaofeng dispersed the flames now is actually to take this opportunity to take a short rest. But how long can you hold out? The Abyss Saint narrowed his eyes slightly. Even if you use all your tricks, you can only prolong the battle. And I will never let you go today. As soon as the voice fell, the Heavenly Saint Rift Abyss slashed at Jiang Xiaofeng again. Jiang Xiaofeng also turned into a flaming phoenix and rushed head on. Tang Wulin kept moving around, throwing the golden dragon spear to harass from a distance. He knew that only Jiang Xiaofeng had the ability to confront the Abyss Saint directly, and he could only fight with him at best. The Abyss Saint has appeared. A group of veteran extreme Daoluo had already received the news, and they were quickly gathered together by Gu Yuna. Gu Yuna forced herself to calm her impatient heart, and said in a deep voice, now Jiang Xiaofeng can only temporarily stalemate with the Abyss Sage Lord with all his strength, and the balance may be broken at any time. Do you have any way to delay the Abyss Sage Lord for at least 2 days? Amorous Daoluo Zhangzin and ruthless Daoluo Koexist looked at each other, and then Zhangzin said, if we can delay him for 2 days, are you absolutely sure that you can win the battle? I'm absolutely sure. Gu Yuna nodded, but are you sure you can delay him for at least 2 days? We have martial soul fusion skill, emotion moving the sky. If it is activated at the cost of life, it can create a spatial layer to trap it. Koexist explained, we don't know how long we can trap it, but we should be able to buy some time. However, Gu Yuna did not panic because of her concern. Instead, she thought for a while and shook her head. The spatial layer cannot trap the Abyss Saint. It can ignore the barriers of the plane and directly come to the Daoluo plane. This is enough to prove this point. If you go there like this, it will only be a meaningless sacrifice. Zhangzin opened his mouth slightly, but in the end he did not speak. He was not afraid of sacrifice, but he was afraid of meaningless sacrifice. That's right, I shouldn't just think about relying on others. Gu Yuna paced back and forth, and then suddenly turned back and said, you go back first, we don't need you here for the time being. A group of extreme Daoluos looked at each other. Although they were unwilling, they had to admit that, if even Jiang Xiaofeng and the others failed, it would be even more impossible to defeat the Abyss Saint by themselves. Jiang Xiaofeng and Tang Wulin were still fighting hard. Gu Yuna stood quietly on a deserted mountaintop, looking into the distance. If you want to defeat the Abyss Saint, the safest way at present is to find a way to delay the Abyss Saint for 2 days. At the same time, take advantage of this time to let Jiang Xiaofeng recreate the genius energy bottle. At least on the surface, this should be the only way. But how to delay the Abyss Saint for 2 days has become an insurmountable chasm. The longer the time drags on, the more dangerous Jiang Xiaofeng's situation will be. Gu Yuna can feel that Jiang Xiaofeng's physical strength is being consumed rapidly. It won't be long before he will be unable to transform due to physical exhaustion. The consequences of cancelling the transformation in front of an opponent close to the level of the God King can be imagined. Therefore, Jiang Xiaofeng needs support. But now, apart from Jiang Xiaofeng and Tang Wulin, the strongest is himself. And if he can't transform, he will only be a burden. Or should he just watch the scene 7 years ago reappear? But Gu Yuna couldn't help but close her eyes, tears flowing down unconsciously. What is worse than despair is that the upcoming hope is shattered before her eyes. Jiang Xiaofeng has just been resurrected, and a corner of the beautiful future has just been revealed. Then, he has to watch hope shattered again. Why? 7 years ago, he couldn't do anything. Now, why can't he do anything? Even weaker than 7 years ago. For some reason, Gu Yuna's mind flashed a memory. It was not long ago when she handed the dragon energy bottle to Jiang Xiaofeng. The dragon energy bottle, which had begun to turn silver, turned back to blue the moment it left her hand. Thinking of this, Gu Yuna couldn't help but clench her fists tightly. This method may not even have the possibility of success, but anyway, Gu Yuna just wanted to try it. Anyway, even if it really failed, it was just a matter of dying sooner or later. So, why not go crazy once? She gently loosened her hand, and a silver light gate gradually appeared in front of Gu Yuna. There was no time to delay. Jiang Xiaofeng's physical strength had reached its limit. Gu Yuna opened her eyes and walked towards the silver light gate. And her purple eyes were faintly flashing with 9-color light. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 224, The Ultimate World. Deep Blue Steel Warrior Tank. Double tank form. Super dangerous. Super strong. Jiang Xiaofeng knelt on his knees, and his legs turned into tracks. The tracks rotated rapidly, driving Jiang Xiaofeng to move at high speed in Pandora's tower. This is a mobile unit unique to the double tank form, which makes it possible to move freely on walls and ceilings. For a long time, the double tank form has a great flaw, which makes Jiang Xiaofeng use it very rarely when facing enemies of the same level. That is, it cannot fly. The double tank form certainly has super destructive power and defensive power, but in this world where everyone above level 70 can fly, the inability to fly has become a weakness after all. If it is an ordinary enemy, the double tank form can directly shoot it down with precise long-range attacks. But if facing an opponent stronger than itself, the double tank form will appear a little weak. But the appearance of Pandora's tower makes the terrain extremely special. The double tank form can move freely on the wall with the tracks on its legs and back. In this case, the towering Pandora's tower has become the best combat platform. The most important thing is that Jiang Xiaofeng's current physical strength is already difficult to maintain the state of the double phoenix form. The shoulder cannon instantly left Jiang Xiaofeng's shoulder, and the built-in self-discipline combat module was activated, blocking the footsteps of the Abyss Saint. Jiang Xiaofeng also switched the full energy bottle destroyer to cannon mode. The energy bottle on the driver was instantly taken out and inserted into the full energy bottle destroyer. Full match Disu. Full match Disu. Blue energy continued to gather, and the pattern of a tank faintly appeared inside it. Full match break. Full match break. The terrifying energy cannon instantly blasted towards the Abyss Saint, but was instantly split by the heavenly holy rift in the hand of the Abyss Saint. Your attack power has become weaker and weaker, which means that you have reached your limit. The Abyss Saint said with a wild laugh, and at the same time, he swung the heavenly holy rift to the empty back. But at this moment, a golden dragon suddenly appeared behind the Abyss Saint, and the heavenly holy rift also crossed the dragon. Wulin. Jiang Xiaofeng roared in shock and anger. The giant dragon disappeared in an instant, and Tang Wulin's figure was revealed. A deep blood mark appeared on the armor on his abdomen. Tang Wulin fell to the ground like a kite with a broken string, and the Night System armor was removed. Tang Wulin was covered in blood at this moment, and he looked extremely miserable. Tang Wulin's fingers moved slightly, and then he lost consciousness. Take care of yourself first. The next moment, the Abyss Saint suddenly appeared in front of Jiang Xiaofeng, and the Heavenly Saint Rift Abyss chopped down heavily, knocking him directly off the wall of Pandora's tower. Jiang Xiaofeng coughed heavily a few times, and the Night System armor was removed after a few sparks. If Jiang Xiaofeng was not in the state of nebula gas overflowing 7 years ago, he would probably dissipate again now. The Abyss Saint knew that the threat posed by Jiang Xiaofeng was too great. In short, this child must not be kept. Without too much nonsense, the Abyss Saint held the Heavenly Saint Rift Abyss, and prepared to directly understand Jiang Xiaofeng's life. At this moment, it suddenly uttered a sigh, and turned its head to look at the silver light gate that suddenly appeared not far away. Is it you? It looked at Gu Yuna, who slowly walked out of the light gate in surprise. What? Even they have lost, and you still want to stop me? Gu Yuna did not answer, but looked at everything in front of her in a trance. Everything was quite similar to that year. Jiang Xiaofeng, who could die at any time, and the powerless self. No. Now I'm even more powerless than 7 years ago. I don't even have the ability to fight him. Isn't this feeling of powerlessness enough once? Since you are here, then watch carefully. The Abyss Saint Lord sneered and raised the Heavenly Saint Rift Abyss high. Watch carefully, his death. The halberd blade of the Heavenly Saint Rift Abyss fell fiercely at Jiang Xiaofeng's heart. But at this moment, a bird's cry suddenly sounded. Then, there was a sound of metal collision, and the Heavenly Saint Rift Abyss was thrown out. What the hell? The Abyss Saint Lord looked at the sudden change in front of him in astonishment. I've had enough of this feeling of powerlessness. I can't accept it, even if I don't want to. At this moment, the purple eyes suddenly emitted a 9-color brilliance. A strange mechanical bird flew from nowhere and circled around Gu Yuna. It was this mechanical bird that just knocked the Heavenly Saint Rift Abyss away. Stream World at the same time, a silver light slowly floated out from her chest. In the light, a silver energy bottle was slowly taking shape. The entire Daoluo plane was dyed with 9 colors at some point, and Gu Yuna's aura suddenly began to surge. In the dark, it seemed as if some shackles were broken. And Gu Yuna's aura also transformed from level 99 to level 100. From this moment on, Gu Yuna was no longer an extreme Daoluo, but a true god level. The seemingly soft 9-color light slowly emanated, but it instantly caused a large area of sparks to appear on the body of the Abyss Saint, as if corroded by something. The Abyss Saint King retreated in pain, watching everything in front of him alertly. The Heavenly Saint Rift also returned to its hand. However, Jiang Xiaofeng and Tang Wulin, who were also shrouded in the light, did not feel a single bit of pain. Instead, the wounds on their bodies slowly healed under the 9-color light. Jiang Xiaofeng's eyes slowly opened, and he saw Gu Yuna slowly reaching out to the silver light ball in front of him, and holding something in the light ball. The next moment, the silver light ball dissipated. In its place, there was a brand new silver energy bottle. Dragon. It was completely derived from Gu Yuna's own dragon energy bottle, and the degree of fit reached the highest level in history. In this energy bottle, Jiang Xiaofeng felt a power far beyond that of ordinary energy bottles, and could even compete with genius energy bottles. Insert the energy bottle into the ultimate world, and then transform. Jiang Xiaofeng climbed up with some difficulty and said anxiously. The bird-like ultimate world flew into Gu Yuna's other hand by itself, and the driver appeared on her waist at some point. Gently shook the energy bottle in her hand, and inserted it into the extreme world. Extreme Dragon at the same time, the color of the extreme world suddenly changed from black to color. The colorful extreme world was gently inserted into the driver by Gu Yuna. Extreme world, the wings of the bird-shaped extreme world opened to both sides the moment it was inserted into the driver, revealing the silver energy bottle inside. The joystick slowly turned, and the glass pipe continued to extend from the driver, and enveloped Gu Yuna. Behind her, a half-human high-metal bird appeared. Are you ready? Henshin. Chapter 225, The Ultimate Dragon. The glass frame closed instantly, and Gu Yuna turned into the initial form of Kamen Rider Oboro. But it was not over yet. The wings of the mechanical bird suddenly closed, covering Gu Yuna. When the wings opened again, the armor had undergone earth-shaking changes. At this moment, the armor became as gorgeous as crystal, reflecting the 9-color light. Behind her was a white cloak, and the wings of the mechanical bird also shrank, merging with Gu Yuna's armor. Ultimate evolution. Perfect ultimate dragon. Create the extreme world. Ultimate dragon. Kamen Rider Oboro. Ultimate form. Jiang Xiaofeng stood up slowly, looking at everything in front of him in disbelief and excitement. This power. Gu Yuna looked at her hand in a daze. This is a power that has completely surpassed her heyday. Not only that, with the breaking of an unknown shackle, the speed of recovering power will become faster and faster. It is only a matter of time to surpass the former dragon god. Moreover, compared with the former dragon god, although I lack the ultimate power, I now have more abilities. Lightning, time. In other words, electromagnetic force, and the initial perception and control of time. The inherent abilities in the past have also been greatly enhanced now. Before this, time was essentially achieved through space, making an object flow backward along its trace in space, thus controlling time to a certain extent. Now Gu Yuna can initially feel the traces left by time. Fight in another place. This place is not suitable, Gu Yuna said, and snapped her fingers lightly. A silver light shield appeared, covering Gu Yuna and the Abyss Saint. The next moment, the light shield disappeared, and Gu Yuna and the Abyss Saint disappeared from the spot. Only Jiang Xiaofeng and Tang Wulin, who was still in a coma, were left. It seems to be successful, Jiang Xiaofeng said with emotion. Separate apart from the original space, and then use this space as a basis to create a unique combat subspace that belongs to you. At this time, Tang Wulin finally woke up slowly. Where is this? He looked around blankly, and then suddenly, as if he remembered something, he suddenly said loudly, "Where is the Abyss Saint?" Well, I think we should consider what to do if the Abyss Saint is killed directly, Jiang Xiaofeng said helplessly. This is a strange space, full of crystals and halos refracted by crystals. It looks beautiful, mysterious, and full of danger. At least for the Abyss Saint, this place is full of unknowns and dangers. You can ignore the barriers of the world and come from one world to another. Later I thought about it and realized that this should be the power given to you by the dark thunderstorm energy, Gu Yuna said calmly. If the assumption is true, methods such as space layering and space sealing should not be able to trap you. But if this is a completely independent world that is not connected to other worlds, can you still get out? The Abyss Saint did not respond, but remained silent. Then you can't. Gu Yuna smiled. Gu Yuna waved her hand lightly, and the silver dragon spear instantly appeared in her hand. At this time, the silver dragon spear had also undergone earth-shaking changes. The silver scales covering the spear body all turned into crystal color at this moment, which looked quite in line with the armor on Gu Yuna's body. Super artifact? Gu Yuna waved the silver dragon spear in her hand, and said in surprise. No, it should not be called the silver dragon spear now. When Gu Yuna completed the final evolution, the silver dragon spear also completed the transformation. The original name was no longer appropriate. Forget it, let's talk about the name later. As she said, Gu Yuna seemed to casually move the silver dragon spear back a little. With a crisp sound of metal collision, the Abyss Saint in front of Gu Yuna slowly dissipated. Behind her, the figure of the Abyss Saint appeared. The tip of the silver dragon spear touched the halberd of the Heavenly Saint Rift. The seemingly random point made the figure of the Abyss Saint fly backwards instantly, and a crack appeared on the halberd of the Heavenly Saint Rift. Obviously, the Abyss Saint wanted to take advantage of Gu Yuna's distraction to launch a sneak attack. Unfortunately, this move is not qualified to be used in front of me, Gu Yuna said, and she disappeared instantly. The next moment, she appeared in front of the Abyss Saint, who had not yet stopped, and Gu Yuna's hand was holding the Heavenly Holy Rift. I don't know if you have heard of electromagnetic force, Gu Yuna said to herself. Forget it, you won't understand it, even if I tell you. I think this thing is an eyesore, so I'll break it down. A strange wave instantly spread throughout the Heavenly Holy Rift, and the Heavenly Holy Rift also turned into a blow light and dissipated. At the same time, thunder suddenly appeared in the sky, hitting the Abyss Saint heavily, and knocking him down from the air. At this time, the Abyss Saint's body had become charred black, and the corners of his mouth were full of black blood, and his eyes were full of disbelief. It's impossible. Even if you are a god king, you can't destroy the super artifact so easily. Gu Yuna gently hooked her finger, and the ground of the whole world began to change. The crystal wrapped up the Abyss Saint, and brought him in front of her. After all, this is the world she opened up, and Gu Yuna has almost absolute control over it. That's because you are too ignorant. You know nothing about science and nature. I just used a small part of the power of nature to decompose your weapon, that's all. As she spoke, Gu Yuna spread her wings behind her, driving her to float high. I don't know if you have heard of gravity. This is a very common thing, so common that many people ignore its existence. Why don't you see the power of gravity compressed to the extreme? As she spoke, Gu Yuna raised the silver dragon spear high. At the tip of the silver dragon spear, a deep black sphere was constantly taking shape. At the same time, the dust, crystals, and sand and gravel of the whole world began to gather towards the black sphere. And in this sphere, the Abyss Saint felt the suction force getting stronger and stronger. When the volume of an object tends to be infinitely small, and the mass tends to be infinite, at the same time, its gravity will continue to tend to be infinite. Such a celestial body is called a black hole. Black holes are not something I can control. But I can create an object similar to a black hole by manipulating gravity. Someone named it pseudo black hole. Walter, meow. Pay the copyright fee. PS. Please give me monthly tickets and recommendation tickets. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.